gentleman named John Burkle through R&I. We found a package for him that showed several arrests as a juvenile and one as an adult for suspicion of ADW. Gwen Alston was shown his mug shot, and she identified him as the other suspect. We drove out to his address on Holt Street. It was a boarding house. The owner admitted us to his room. We waited. 4 hours went by. 8:19 p.m. All right, Burkle, hold it right there.
What?
Police officers, get your hands over your head. Come on, move.
Sure.
Over the door. Come on. Hands up on the door. All right, now hold it right there. All right.
Okay.
He's clean, Joe.
What's the pitch?
Come on, turn around. Put your hands behind your back.
All right. Take it easy with my thumb. I think I got blood poisoning.
Yeah.
Now, you want to tell me what this is about?
A friend of yours sent us over to get you. Says you always work together on everything. He's kind of lonesome without you.
Who are you talking about?
Hetty.
He sent you here. He copped out to you?
All right, let's go.
What did he say?
You figured. We're here.
That Fink. Big talk about how he'd never cop out to anything. Never admit nothing. Well, that's the way it is when you get mixed up with young squirts.
All right, let's go.
Lousy punk. Suppose you know how he beat up that woman.
Yep.
Should have heard him afterwards, laughing about how he hit her. Should have figured he'd cop out if he got nailed. No guts. Got to beat up on women. No guts at all.
Well, that's real funny, isn't it?
What's that?
We just talked to him.
Yeah?
He said the same things about you.
The story you have just heard is true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On June 9th, trial was held in Department 97, Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of Los Angeles. A petition was filed on Gordon Hedig, alleging one count of robbery and kidnapping. He was declared unfit as a juvenile and ordered to be tried in Superior Court. Gordon Jerome Hedig and John Carlton Burkle were tried and convicted of robbery in the first degree, one count, and kidnapping for the purpose of robbery. Robbery in the first degree is punishable by imprisonment for a period of not less than 5 years. Kidnapping for the purpose of robbery with bodily harm is punishable by imprisonment in the state penitentiary for life without possibility of parole.
Dragnet. The story of your police force in action is a presentation of the United States Armed Forces Radio Service.
KSCO, Santa Cruz.
CBS News. I'm Matt Piper. The special election to fill an open Senate seat in Alabama is Tuesday. Republican Roy Moore is polling ahead and has the vocal support of President Trump, despite numerous allegations of sexual misconduct and assault by women claiming he took advantage of them when they were teenagers. Correspondent Manuel Bojorquez from Alabama.
Roy Moore's latest denial came during a local TV show where he dismissed the allegations as nothing more than a political attack.
I never molested anyone.
President Trump backed up his endorsement of Moore with a robocall.
Go vote for Roy Moore.
But Alabama's senior senator, Republican Richard Shelby, said he wrote in another Republican when he voted early.
The Republican Party can do better.
The Democrat in the race, Doug Jones, tried to capitalize on Shelby's words. Senator Cory Booker stumped for Jones on Saturday.
Bad people get elected when good people don't vote.
Bitcoin has made its debut on the major stock exchange at $15,000 per unit. It is digital currency that's exploded in popularity this year. Jason Weisberg is a trader on the New York Stock Exchange.
Just because it's new doesn't mean it's bad or wrong. But how do you correctly judge the valuation? I certainly am not qualified, and I'm not so sure anyone is.
An update on those California wildfires. The largest of them, the Thomas Fire, is only 15% contained, already scorching 173,000 acres. 15,000 structures are threatened, including the home of Ellen DeGeneres. She tweeted that she had to evacuate her pets this afternoon. There are 5 other fires burning in Southern California besides the Thomas. Nearly 9,000 firefighters are helping in the fight. About a quarter of them are minimum security prison inmates. State police in Michigan believe 4 shootings on Detroit's freeway system are linked to the same suspect. WWJ Radio's John Hewitt.
The locations and timelines of the now 4 reported shootings along Interstates 94 and 96 in Detroit have led investigators to call them connected. All 4 of the random motorists targeted Thursday morning, one of them wounded in the leg. Marvin, who lives in the area of 2 of the shootings, is not surprised.
It's just the day and age we live in right now. It's gone crazy now. You know, it's just ridiculous, really.
John Hewitt for CBS News, Detroit.
Police say they're looking for a silver or gray sedan. Lebanese forces deployed tear gas at the latest wave of demonstrators marching near the U.S. Embassy in Beirut. The protest centers on President Trump's designation of Jerusalem as the Israeli capital. UN Ambassador Nikki Haley spoke about it on Face the Nation.
What he did was take it off the table. Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. Take that off the table, tell both sides to come together and say, okay, you decide how you want to split up Jerusalem. You decide if you're going to create boundaries or borders there.
At the box office this weekend,
I'm proud we're family.
Disney and Pixar's Coco on the top yet again. This is CBS News.
What's the perfect gift this holiday season? A great night's sleep on a set of Boll & Branch sheets. Hi, I'm Scott Tannen, founder of Boll & Branch, makers of the world's most comfortable sheets. Every set arrives beautifully packaged. Find out why 3 U.S. presidents love Boll & Branch. Try them risk-free for a month. Get $50 off your first set plus free shipping at bollandbranch.com, promo code SLEEP. That's bollandbranch.com, spelled B-O-L-L and branch.com, promo code SLEEP.
Attention investors, protect your IRA or 401k by storing your retirement at home with an Augusta Home Delivery Gold IRA. Call Augusta today at 888-852-4788 for a free guide on transferring a portion of your IRA or 401k into approved physical gold and silver coins and store them in your safe at home or at your local bank. Call 888-852-4788 today and discover how you can get up to $2,000 in silver free. Call 888-852-4788. That's 888-852-4788.
Good afternoon. You're listening to AM 1080 KSCO Santa Cruz, KOMY 1340, Selva Beach, Watsonville, 104.1 FM, KSCO.com, 4:05 on a Sunday, December 10th, 2017. Jason Struby with your King of the Hill traffic. Light conditions on your major roadways, 117, 101, all looking pretty good out there. A bit of traffic northbound 17 to Las Gatas. Average 20 miles an hour as you're about a mile from town until you get through the Cats. 156, heavy to Prunedale, typical Sunday evening. Back up there, you may want to take Blackie if you're trying to save a little bit of time. Otherwise, your major roadways clear, 156, 183, 152, 129, 218, 68, Highway 9, 85, and Highway 101, all looking clear on the Central Coast for now. Did have a collision report at 17 southbound at Granite Creek about 15 minutes ago. Unknown injuries. And looks like fire crews dealing with that. And traffic control going on Church Avenue at Center Avenue near Hollister Gilroy. structure fire going on there. It's 4:06. Still got a couple hours if you want to pick up a last-minute tangy, healthy start pack, or Arthrodex here at 2300 Portola Drive. It's 4:06. Time now for the Veterans Take Charge radio show with your hosts Justin Baker and Dave Ramos right here on KSCO.
Welcome to today's broadcast of Veterans Take Charge radio show. I'm your host, Justin Baker, former U.S. Army Ranger with the 75th Ranger Regiment. Rangers lead the way. I got the studio just about all to myself today. I have a special guest host in here covering for the U.S. Army's Best Medic 2008, Doc Ramos, my partner and battle buddy for life, my brother from another mother. And in studio with me today is U.S. Air Force veteran Keenan Roop. Keenan, welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me onto the show here, Justin. I'm happy to have the opportunity to be a co-host for a moment.
Absolutely. Just so you know, man, I want to definitely do as much as we can to integrate as many veterans as we can into the program. Absolutely. So for those of you out there listening, if you want to take part in the conversation, the live call-in number is 831-479-1080. We typically have topics that we've chosen leading up to the broadcast for each week. We have a program that we have an outline for and we're going to do. We're kind of freestyling it a bit here today. Roop's got a bunch of talking points that we're going to cover. I got a letter from the biggest fan of the Veterans Take Charge radio show, which just happens to be an inmate at Soledad Prison. He's been writing us nonstop since one of our first series of broadcasts, which was on the U.S. Constitution, what each amendment of the Constitution means. We did that broadcast in the first 6 months of the program about 3 years ago now, and he's been writing us ever since. We talked about modern slavery and how in the prison system, corporations are paying inmates pennies on the dollar to manufacture products. In a sense, we kind of felt like that in itself is almost a form of slavery because they're not getting paid a living wage. Now, I know many of you out there are like, well, they're in prison, they shouldn't. But what we need to understand is if these guys are going to get out, these guys and gals are going to get out of prison and start a law-abiding life, it's going to take money to do that. And so I'm of the opinion that if they're going to be working while they're in there, they should be qualified to do the work and get the training to do the work, and they need to be law-abiding citizens while they're in the prison. And that's not always easy to do because they're surrounded by criminals. But that doesn't mean that some of the people in there don't want to do the right thing. And Eric Treadaway's been writing us for years now, and he's trying to bring real change into the prison system for the inmates. He's trying to better himself. He's trying to work his way out of prison. He's doing his time that he was ordered to do by our society. And when he gets out, he just wants to be able to survive and not be in poverty while he does it. And so I tend to lean towards, well, we need to give them the resources needed to do that. Not necessarily give them, but make them available and let them earn it. And Eric is working within the system in the prison there to create new programs that point inmates who want to rehabilitate and move back into society successfully. He's trying to create programs that will help them do that. The program I'm speaking of is called CORE, and it stands for Constitutional Obedience Rewards Everyone. Now, Eric's been writing us lately, and I just got a new letter from him talking about a program where the inmates are training service animals that will eventually be given to veterans, disabled vets who need the service animals. And we've been interviewing different nonprofits who train service dogs and different types of service animals. Some of them are horses, some of them are dogs. But we're seeing huge results, right? There's, psychologically speaking, spending time with animals is good for us, and for the animal, if we're kind to them, it's good for them as well, right?
Yeah, and you can see that in his letter. He specifically mentions that the oxytocin reward system that we both have in our brains is similar between both dogs and humans. So as we love them more, they love us more, and you can kind of build that therapeutic relationship that you were talking about. Plus, these are designed to be service animals, right? So if we want them to have the capabilities to take care of a veteran who needs an animal and he can't take care of himself, then it does kind of make sense to me in a way to have prisoners do this, because it would be like the most extreme environment for that service animal, and if they can perform as described in that environment, then they would be able to perform in any situation that a veteran might come across.
You would think so, right? Absolutely, dude. And on top of that, so part of the reason that some of these people are in and out of the prison system their whole lives is like a lot of them did not come from the best upbringing. They were brought into a hard life, and they had to navigate their way through that. Some of them have to commit crime to survive. Sometimes if you're starving, you got to go in and steal some food. And I guarantee you there's an inmate in prison with Eric Treadaway right now who's in there for theft of something that was absolutely necessary for his survival. Not because he wanted to be a criminal, but because he needed to eat, or he needed to steal a blanket so that he could stay warm on a cold night outside in the streets. And how do we prosecute those people to the fullest extent of the law when their life depended on them doing that thing?
Especially when our system is becoming less about punishment and more about rehabilitation. So, like, if the crime that he was committing, he committed because it was a necessity to his life, then it feels a little too extreme to use the fullest extent of the law, like you were saying, to punish a criminal. You know, if stealing a loaf of bread, this should not put a man in jail for 6 or 10 years. You know, I could understand a lesser sentence, but if it is, as you said, a necessity to his life, then you got to give him some compassion.
Yeah, you know, and a perfect example of this actually in the veteran community, for those of you who are vets and are wondering why I'm talking about prison inmates, let me give you another example of a life and death situation where you may have to break a law, right? Many veterans use medical marijuana for traumatic stress treatment. They medicate with medical marijuana because it's known to relax you and calm your thoughts, and you know, in some cases it does create couch lock if you're smoking that sticky icky purple. On occasion I do that myself. But there's been several veterans over the years that we've been doing this broadcast that have been thrown out of the service. Robert Kowalski in Ohio, he's one of our Air Force vets who was thrown out of service because he got sick and injured overseas in Iraq on a deployment, and they put him on a bunch of prescription drugs, and he was no longer able to perform his duties. Now, I was a go-getter when I was in the service. I'm a go-getter now, and Robert Kowalski was a go-getter as well. And so not being able to perform his duty really got to him over the 6 or 12 months that he was on the 9 prescription drugs that they had him on. Mm-hmm. And over time, what he realized was, I'm not getting better, I'm actually getting worse, and I'm taking more and more drugs all the time because they keep on saying, oh, well, if you're having this symptom from that drug, we'll give you this drug to treat that symptom. There's no backtracking in the illness to figure out what exactly caused it, and can we get to the root cause and solve the problem once and for all? And can we bring this guy back on to duty? I just had a conversation outside the studio. You had to come and grab me because I almost missed going on air right now, talking to a Navy veteran who was put out of service, and they, at no point in this veteran that I'm speaking of, at no point in his medical board did they try to figure out where did this injury really begin and what is the severity of it. He literally said, overnight, I was basically told, you know, you got this injury, we're sending you home. And the next thing he knew, he was on a boat home. Like, they just put him out. And he said, now I'm trying to find the evidence that I need for my case, and they're not making it available. Okay. And so all of a sudden what they did was he went through the program really quick as far as the VA disability rating system. They just rated him at 80% with almost no evidence, which to me means if he had the evidence, he would probably be at 100%. Mm-hmm. Because if he can get 80% and they haven't even given him the evidence to win the case yet, they're basically setting him up awfully close to the 100% level.
Yeah, especially if it's your initial appeal. I've always heard, getting 30% is where you're usually going to start unless you have some kind of severe physical disability like trauma, missing a limb, yeah, losing eyesight, hearing, something like that. So 80% on your initial investigation, that's pretty good.
Dude, I was medically chaptered out, and I have a super severe case of a disease that I believe may have been brought on by vaccinations, although that might take 40 years to prove, just like Agent Orange, right? Especially if the military does know about it. I would imagine they're burning evidence as we speak. But they rated me at 20. And my Army physician who worked with me every day literally said, if I was on your medical board, I would give you 60%. And this was the doctor that I worked with every other week, approximately for a year during my medical board. He was the primary care physician that really knew my case and my illness and the severity of my illness better than any other doctor alive, because this is the guy that I saw every other week. And that doesn't include visits to the specialists. Right?
Right. I'm kind of beginning that same process myself with Dean Kaufman through the Veteran Services organization there. Dave Ramos recommended that I talk to him to start that. I think it's called the C&P appointment, the compensation.
The initial evaluation.
Exactly, where they look you over one solid time and they say, we're going to think you're at 20% based on this evidence, or as your friend was saying, 80%, good for him.
Yeah, he got lucky, and I think that says something about the severity of his illness and injury. Very seldom would they put you at the highest level on your first attempt. And if they're starting him off at 80, I mean, he's, in my opinion, probably got a clear-cut 100% rating coming his way.
It could be. I mean, he definitely has to go through the appeal process and see, but 80% may be the correct rating for him. I can't be a physician to make that call. I don't even know the nature of his disability.
His whole argument was they haven't even provided the evidence to prove that it is or that it isn't.
Okay.
They just sent me there. And me, after going through what I did and only getting a 20% rating, I had already been hospitalized twice before I got out of the Army. Before my med board even started, I already had 2 hospitalizations under my belt.
Documentation during active duty.
Yeah,
important.
real documentation. And looking back on my case, knowing what I know now, I've literally played lawyer for myself here at this point. I realized it's up to us to compile the evidence,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Now,
yes.
the VA sent me a letter that says it's our job to get you the evidence, and I believe it might say in there you have to request it, which is stupid if you think about it in the first place. Why are they not pulling the evidence for us as we're being out-processed out of Army, Navy, Marines? They should already be pulling all the evidence for us. The Army should have done that for me, in my opinion, and I think they have the resources to do that for us.
Well, I think it's all going to the Air Force now. All records documentation is going through the Air Force, and they're pretty solid. Like, I have never had problems with losing specific documentation through the Air Force. I've got 180 pages of medical records that they gave me on an encrypted disk, like the day I shipped out.
See, the Army did not do that.
Yeah, so they compiled it for me beforehand, and they also provided me the avenues and opportunities to go gather the information myself from the individual health institutions that I'd seen while I was in the military. So I know I got some knee surgery when I was at Holloman Air Force Base. I just go talk to them. They'll send you the records if they can prove who you are. So it's pretty easy with the Air Force, and I think that will get better for the Army veterans as well.
So interestingly enough, I got a letter from the Air Force 3 or 4 months back, maybe as far back as 6 months. I got a letter from the Air Force.
Oklahoma, I bet. Right?
And they're literally saying that they're going to reevaluate my Army medical board because there's a distinct possibility that evidence was missed, right? Well, I know that it's not a distinct possibility. It's a fact because, like I said, I lawyered up. I put together a 1,500-page medical file on myself by compiling everything I could get, and I'm still actually being denied a significant amount of data. The medical records warehouse in St. Louis, I requested the data from them in 2014, and what I got after about a 6-month wait was I got a file in a manila envelope in the mail, and it had 200 pages of information in it. 100 pages of that information was completely illegible and looked like hieroglyphics. I mean, it looked like
a copy of a copy of something that was laying in the sand in Afghanistan.
It looked like they used an ink ribbon that was about 95% expired and only had 5% of the ink in it, and so only half of each letter over this 100-page document, only a half of each letter was on the page. And so it's impossible to decipher what it meant, We got a couple callers online. We're going to take them right when we come back. We're going to take a short commercial break. We're going to take a short commercial break, and you will hear from our sponsors. Stand by for more Veterans Take Charge.
Hi, registered pharmacist Ben Fuchs here. I've been studying healthy bodies for 35 years, and what I've got to tell you may shock and surprise you, but if you listen up,
It may change your life. There's no element in the body that's more important than iodine, and not just for the thyroid either. As it turns out, all of the glands of the body depend on iodine. The adrenal glands are especially dependent on iodine, and making sure you're getting enough via diet and supplementation can reduce fibrocystic breasts and lower the risk of heart disease too. Iodine is also important for your brain. According to researchers writing in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, iodine deficiency can prevent children from attaining, quote, their full intellectual potential, unquote. Deficiencies in iodine are considered to be the most preventable cause of brain damage in infants and children, and according to the World Health Organization, over 1/3 of kids are iodine deficient. According to the World Health Organization, iodine deficiency in adults can lower IQs by up to 15 points. And considering the average adult IQ is around 90 to 100, and 80 is considered dull, losing 15 IQ points can be pretty significant. Although iodine is one of the most feared and misunderstood of all the nutritional minerals, the fact is iodine is perhaps the safest of all the essential trace elements. Organic nutritional iodine is the only essential trace element that can be used safely for long durations in doses many times higher than the RDA. Iodine is found abundantly in the ocean, and regular consumption of seafood and sea vegetables are a great way to make sure you're getting enough. You can also supplement with Lugol solution, a product called iodoral or its equivalent. You can also use drops of something called nascent iodine, which may be especially effective as a supplemental source. Pharmacist Ben here, urging you to go to KSCOhealth.com to order Beyond Tangy Tangerine, the Healthy Start Pack, and other nutritional supplements that I personally use and recommend. You can purchase these premium quality products at wholesale prices online at KSCOhealth.com. That's KSCOhealth.com. I'm the pharmacist that believes that staying healthy and strong is not only about medicine, it's about giving your body the raw materials it needs to do its work. Go to KSCOhealth.com. Make sure you check out the cool videos too at KSCOhealth.com. That's KSCOhealth.com.
Welcome back to Veterans Take Charge. We've got a couple callers on the line. I'm going to go ahead and take Steve from PG. Hold on one second here. Steve, can you hear me?
Hey, guys.
Hey,
I
Steve.
really love your show. I'm an old vet, and I know when I sign, I'm going to be devil's advocate. I'm on your side, but I'm going to be devil's advocate.
Okay.
When I signed that contract, it was 1 hour sleep and 1 meal. Now, I'm with you 100% as far as people getting cured, as far as, federal or state guidelines. I mean, I'm a complete marijuana advocate as far as people getting healed for, instead of doing psychotropic drugs or whatever.
Me too.
But, I mean, you know as well as I did that when we signed that contract, we knew there's a good chance we're going to come out ruined.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the risk you take when you volunteer.
So, and listen, I'm not getting the government off the hook one bit. That's the part that I really love your advocacy. As far as, it doesn't cost that much to help people get well if they have a little bit of trouble one way or another. I mean, it's not like they got to go and be a recidivist prison guy. I mean, what you're talking about is wellness.
Yep.
And that's a nice thing.
We did a fantastic interview with a world-renowned naturopathic doctor. He is 80 years old. He's still somewhat active in the military, which is almost unheard of at his age. And he is a Nobel Prize nominee. He's one of the most world-renowned, if not the most world-renowned veterinarian alive today. Has saved the bears in the American zoo system at one point, brought in all the white rhinos, or the children of those white rhinos in the American zoo system today. We did an interview with him on November 19th. And I feel like we're getting to the root cause with this interview on November 19th. You can look it up at zbsradio.com on the...
This guy's absolutely astounding, by the way. He was telling us he did thousands and thousands of autopsies.
20,000.
20,000
He's a comparative
autopsies.
pathologist on top of everything else I've already listed. He got a huge award from the UN recently. In the last 12 months, he was awarded this huge award at the UN.
He's winning court cases against the FDA on a regular basis.
He's actually undefeated against the Food and Drug Administration at the Supreme Court level. He's got one of the best attorneys in America, and the FDA cannot beat this guy. His name is Jonathan Emord. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say that or not, but I did. But Dr. Wallach said during this broadcast, I just re-listened to the November 19th Veterans Take Charge broadcast on ZBSradio.com. Yesterday, I re-listened to this broadcast for the first time. And he said, we're gearing up for our 10th lawsuit against the Food and Drug Administration right now. And this lawsuit is for the veterans. We're going to go in. We're going to sue the crap out of the FDA. We're going to beat them. We're going to make them look stupid because we have all the research needed to prove our case and win. And I'm undefeated 9 times, so I know I'm going to win this 10th one. And we're going to get the Veterans Administration to start nutrifying the veteran community. And that creates the building blocks of cellular health. And health begins at a cellular level for living beings. And so I think we're starting to get to the root cause of the problem, which is, let's say you step on a landmine and you lose a leg, right? Your body's got to heal that as much as it can. Okay, the medics are going to do what they can to patch you up, but once the stitches are in and the wound is sealed and the bleeding is stopped, right? Now your body's got to do the rest. And so what does it take out of the bones and the internal organs and the rest of the body to heal that blown off limb, to create enough bone tissue to seal off the base of the bone? What does it take from the healthy parts of the body to stop that wound from progressing and to revert, to start healing the wound? And Dr. Wallach was able to touch on trauma with us a little bit. We didn't go as in-depth as we'd like because it was only a 30-minute segment of the show. But there is all the potential in the world that if the veterans were nutrified, every man, woman, and child that is a veteran, if they were nutrified, our mental health would come back, our psychological health would come back, our hormonal health would come back. We may lose a bunch of weight, right? Because when you're nutrified, you're not like eating out of starvation tactics. You're eating when you're hungry, and then you're satiated quickly because you don't need as much out of the food.
Your body begins to recognize it, so you start to lose those cravings for the fatty foods, the Burger King and fast foods and what have you. Those are the things that are putting the pounds on. It's the carbohydrates and stuff that you're just constantly pouring into your body that they're energy, and your body stores energy in the form of fat. And your cells, as you were saying, like to regrow that bone tissue, they can use up some of the energy in your fat, but they don't use up energy that fast. As a cell is a very small thing. And it throughout our entire bodies, you can feel it from the heat that we generate, and that's that heat is also present in wounds. They use some infrared technology to increase some of the regenerative capabilities of these cells. But yeah, it's like you said, if you don't have the nutrients to create a new bone, you can't make a new bone, even if the cell is there, ready and willing.
Absolutely.
Hey, Phil, can I interrupt you guys? Man, you guys are really good. I'm telling you.
Thank you.
If your head's not straight, I mean, you can take all the nutrition and all that stuff that you want. I mean, I agree with you. Of course you want to heal up. But, I mean, if your head's not straight for these kids and guys and gals coming back, I mean, if your head's not straight, you're not going to get straight. You're not going to heal up properly. You're going to be like the... I listened to you. Just give me 1 second.
Okay.
I love you guys. You're bringing up an important point. My point is, listen, you got to get their heads straight first, and that's one of the reasons why I like you guys talking about not being the opioids, not doing this, live right, try to eat decent food, try to heal up properly. I mean, you got to get your head straight before you can heal up the rest of your body.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, definitely, we agree with you, and I think you can see some of the evidence for that in when Dr. Wallach was here on the radio. He was talking about 2 towns where they had one town had some specific nutrient, one town did not have a specific nutrient, and there was a massive level of violent crime in one of these towns and an almost 0 level of violent crime in the next town, and they had almost identical demographics. But his argument was that to get your mind right, you got to get the right nutrients in there. If your mind has a deficiency in some way, then it can affect your mental health and get your mind wrong in some way.
And we did a really interesting 15 or 20 minute piece during that broadcast on November 19th where we discussed PTSD, because needless to say, for us as veterans, that's one of the key topics where we see our brethren suffering. Whether they're male or female, it's the same across both. And we asked him, Doc, how does nutrition benefit post-traumatic stress or psychological disorders? And he said, well, look, if the body is not feeling good, if the body's not feeling healthy, needless to say, the mind's not going to be at 100%, right? And this is a system that both things work in unison. If the body's not healthy, the mind is nowhere near 100%, right?
Mm-hmm,
and if the mind is not healthy, the hormone levels are probably different than they should be. And so you've got to bring it all together in one package. And Steve, if you have a computer and you can listen to the November 19th broadcast, you should tune into that. I think it'll blow your mind. Doc Wallach, I knew what to expect, and I literally wanted to give him a standing ovation because he had so much more data than what I ever thought he was going to bring.
You had like 6 of these books, and you were holding them up to the camera one at a time, like showing off, okay, this was the book he was talking about here. Here's the book he wrote the year after that. Here's the book he wrote the year after that. It astounded me how much knowledge is packed in that man's brain.
You know, and what's interesting, too, okay, so I've been researching this. His number one publication that he ever did was actually when he was a graduate student. He wrote like a 6,000-page dissertation, right? And usually I believe your PhD document is around 600 pages. Well, his was 6,000, and they made him edit it down to 1,200. They're like, we're not reading 6,000 pages no matter how thorough your science is. And so he edited it down to 1,200 pages, and that publication, he expected them to take credit for it because typically the grad students don't get credit for all the research. But Doc had actually done the research, and so they're like, nah, man, we're going to help you publish this thing, and you're going to get the credit. So they gave him a gift, but because they knew he had earned it, right? And what he said was, the Smithsonian Institute picked it up, and it is a national treasure of the United States of America based on the Smithsonian. The Smithsonian told me, hey, your publication is a national treasure, brother. Good job. And then he wasn't even allowed to put the 3 chapters on human health. He wasn't allowed to include that into the publication. And so I've been talking to people about what this book is selling for now. He had 10,000 copies published in 1970 or 1968 or something like that, and they sold them for $148. And the publishing company said, we're never going to sell all these at $148, right? They sold out in 2 weeks. And today, if you were to look up one of these things on eBay, he said you might be able to get one for $5,000 if it's the most dog-eared version of the book that's left. But if you get a pristine copy of this book, they're selling for no less than $25,000. And I ended up on the phone with a 20-year Navy SEAL, Marvin Ropp, who works directly with Dr. Wallach. He's going to be on the show with us on January 14th, so tune into that broadcast for sure. Super successful Navy SEAL. He said, I got a copy for $400. I got another copy for $700 a year after that, and I got another copy for $800 the year after that. And he said, now I've seen them selling for as high as $28,000 a copy. Jeez. And I'm like, Marvin, dude, you got $100,000 for $1,400. You got $100,000 in book sitting in your house. Yeah. And he's like, I'll never sell them. You know, these things, they're gonna, throughout history, these things are gonna be an important piece of research that's been done by this awesome lieutenant colonel.
I hope he makes that available in some kind of electronic format because, you know, books are great, but everybody's Kindle now or reading on their phone or their computer or something.
Smartphone's where it's at. Steve, it says Steve in PG smoking herb. Did you want to?
No, I'm from the old school. I come back from my 2 best friends' bigger brothers came back heroin addicts from Vietnam. I mean, I'm an old school guy.
Yeah.
And I understand what you're trying to say as far as helping these people get a life. I mean, and I think it's wonderful. And I'm not trying to bring it down or to you. I really appreciate what you're trying to do, and I believe the doctor is a really nice person, and I love your radio show. But I mean, I remember the vets coming back hurting, and they still are. And when I talk about maybe having the kids that are coming back. Be a little bit able to do, maybe not smoking a bong hit, but doing a little bit of edibles, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, the CBCs and all the other stuff that's very healthy for you. I'm not talking about having them come home being a pothead sitting around in the basement.
Yeah.
Okay, you understand what I'm trying to say? I mean, I know what your guys are trying to do.
Come back and be productive members of society in some way, not, just slouching around. Like he was talking about couch lock earlier. That's an unacceptable way to live your life.
Yeah, no, and I do see a lot of that in the veteran community, and it's a bit
the opioid crisis. Those are the guys who are sitting around playing video games for 15 hours a day.
That's the devil in a bottle, man. The opioids are definitely the most dangerous drug out there in my opinion. Although crystal meth appears to do quite a bit of damage from the people around here that I see that are visibly on it.
Yeah, but to our community, opioids stand out because it was prescribed by the people who are supposed to be responsible for our health.
They did swear a Hippocratic oath not to do any harm, and yet if they're getting people strung out on opioids, obviously they violated the oath that they swore, and I think maybe their medical licenses ought to be under review.
Well, they can only work with the best information that they have available, but obviously it's not working. Whatever system they were trying to employ, it's not working.
Yeah. So, Steve, my point is never I don't want any vets to come out here and waste the rest of their life, although some guys are so injured in their head or in their body or both that they're not going to be all that productive. And if marijuana just eases the pain, then, hey, man, do what you got to do. It's better.
Hey, thank you for even talking about it.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot for even talking about it. And appreciate your show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For even talking about these guys.
No, they deserve it. They deserve it. And the thing is, like, if I don't talk about it, I swore an oath in the Ranger Regiment to never leave a fallen comrade. And I see my brothers falling by the wayside. And if it wasn't for this radio show and the drive and the desire it's created for me to be an outspoken member of my community, and Michael Zwirling as my business mentor, I mean, he gave me this opportunity, and I was able to share it with Dave, and I was able to share it with Roop, and it is the most powerful weapon that I wield is this broadcast, the spoken word.
Yes, absolutely.
The power of the spoken word. And I was telling Keenan Roop here, like, right before the broadcast began, I was like, yeah, man, my goal is to get as many veterans' butts in these seats in this studio to tell their story and take part, and
the Veterans Take Charge radio show.
Exactly.
They have to lead from whatever position you're in. You have to start leading right there, and then you can get to a position like where you are in now, and you can reach hundreds or thousands of people every day, just talking to them and communicating with them, letting them call in onto the cell phone lines here.
Steve, is it empowering to you at all to be able to call in and get on air and be on radio?
Mr. Swirling is my hero. I mean, this radio station you have, I've listened to radio up and down the coast for a long, long time. And I'll tell you what, you guys and your shows, I mean, sometimes I'm a jerk when I call and whatever. I'll tell you what.
I'm always a jerk.
We're all vets here, man.
You guys are the best. Telling you. I mean, ask anybody. I'm a fan. And listen to what you're doing. You're trying to help vets get over their hard times. I mean, how am I going to pick on you?
So I got a question for you. How the heck did we go national?
I'm not. That's a good question. I mean, I'm not sure if they're ready for you.
Well, we have to take charge and show them that we are the ones who are going to be making them ready.
So I've been people have been feeding me contacts at iHeartMedia. MZ, actually, I sat with him last week in his office right before the broadcast and got to talk business, which is actually Doc Ramos is really the lead broadcaster on the show at this point. He's putting the scheduling together. He's pretty much doing the interviews with the guests, and I'm kind of like more working that from the back, the business angle. And so I sit in with MZ, and anytime you get to sit in a room with a millionaire, you better just shut up and listen and ask intelligent questions when you're speaking. And what I think MZ likes about me is on occasion these amazing ideas fly out of my mouth, and he's like, I can definitely make money doing that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And on a few occasions, he's been able to make some money on an idea that I came up with. I haven't figured out how the heck to make any big money on any of my ideas just yet, but I'm surrounding myself with successful individuals, and their success at some point will rub off a bit. And
Plus, you'll be able to learn lessons and ask them questions. Just
exactly.
Like asking those intelligent questions. At some point, you're going to have a struggle that you can't overcome on your own, but if they're a millionaire, they made it already. Like, they've probably been through that struggle, and they can give you some guidance if they can't give you some answers anyway.
Dude,
Ask MZ about patience. When he was dealing with Air America, ask Mr. Swirling about patience.
MZ, if you're listening.
I love you guys. I wish you guys nothing but the best there, partners.
Hey,
thanks for your call.
Bye.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, what you just said. So the reason that I got my first broadcast, which was the show that predated Veterans Take Charge, was because someone introduced me to MZ, and his mother, who was 80 years old and you know, kind of stuck in a wheelchair at the time, she grabs his sleeve and she's like, "Help him, Michael, help him." And when your mom grabs your sleeve and starts telling you to help somebody, you just do it, right?
Yeah,
and MZ did. And the next thing you know, he's like, "Oh, the VA's screwing you over? Well, let's broadcast about that." And that was really the seed that was planted that led to this broadcast. And we realized, you know, this thing could grow exponentially if we could get enough veterans to be heard.
Exactly. There's tons of stories about the VA doing, you know, unscrupulous things that are just screwing over veterans, and to be able to express your frustration through your story, I'm sure is powerful and empowering to the people that are listening.
I mean, it can create common ground for anybody else who's dealt with any of the stuff I bitch about.
There you go. There you go. Absolutely.
Hey, this is Veterans Take Charge. We're going to take our second commercial break of the day. Stand by.
Justin and Dave, send our vets to the True Olive Connection for pain, inflammation, anxiety, and sleeplessness and more. The True Olive Connection has 0 THC CBD oil, which means no cards, no license needed, just pain-free, walking away with lots of love. At the True Olive Connection in downtown Santa Cruz and in Aptos. And we at the True Olive Connection want to thank you and your families for your service. We hope you have a happy, safe, and healthy holiday season. Come on home. Opa!
Looking for the perfect gift this holiday season? How about something that can have an impact all year long? Second Harvest Food Bank's Holiday Food and Fun Drive is happening right now. And right now, you can give the perfect gift, food, to your neighbors in need. Every $1 you donate provides 4 healthy meals to children, families, seniors, and vets in our community. Let's make sure everyone has food on the table this holiday season and beyond. Give your perfect gift today at thefoodbank.org. Sponsored in part by KSCO Radio.
I'm Gary Shapiro, host of From the Bookshelf, Monday nights at 7 here on KSCO. This week my guest is writer Eric Lax. He's just written a book called Start to Finish, Woody Allen and the Art of Movie Making. We talk all about Woody Allen Monday at 7 on From the Bookshelf with me, Gary Shapiro, right here on KSCO.
Welcome back to Veterans Take Charge. I've got Air Force veteran Keenan Roop in studio, sitting in for the U.S. Army's best medic, Doc Ramos. Doc Ramos, where the heck are you at, man? You know, I picked the best possible partner for this broadcast because Doc Ramos, this is only his 3rd Sunday in 3 years that he hasn't been in studio.
That is a pretty consistent record. How many weeks in 52 weeks? So he's missed 3 out of 156 possible episodes.
Yep.
So that's
I pretty much
99% accountability.
We almost got to catch him, tie him up, and throw him in the trunk during the Sunday broadcast to keep him out of the studio. You know what I mean? On occasion, I'm like, hey, it would be cool to broadcast on my own because Dave does a damn good job broadcasting on his own. But my partner's never not here, so I don't get to broadcast alone very often, you know? And when I do, I'm like, oh, perfect opportunity. Let's hit up Roop and see if Roop can get in here. Roop, you do some stuff. You're involved in some things, and you're kind of a techie.
Yeah,
you're definitely an intellectual. I know your father is a hardcore intellectual, just based on some of the work you told me he's doing in the field of cancer.
Yeah.
And so your scientific background kind of blows my mind. But I want to talk about social media with you a little bit
definitely.
because
I've been having a lot of fun with social media in the last few weeks.
And we need to
so
integrate.
much.
We need to integrate that in because isn't that the biggest
this
marketing
show,
platform
yeah.
in the world right now?
Absolutely. With things like Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, you can take a simple message and put it in front of 100,000 people in 24 hours. It's amazing how powerful these tools are that are available to you. And the data metrics that you can gather on the people that are interacting with you, the people that are engaging with your posts and your advertisements, it's creepy to me, the level of information that you can really have about a person when they have, they click on my website one time and I know so much about them, like what their age is, their gender, why they came to my store, what portal they used, how long do they spend on any given website. These social media tools and the data analytics that are surrounded by them are incredible.
So last week we interviewed Heather Dobson. She is the community builder at GoDaddy.com. She's an Air Force vet as well. And she gave us a big old 2-hour broadcast about business insight. Tips, tricks, what you're forgetting to do that you need to do, how to set goals that are attainable. Don't do your goals in 2-week increments. Here's what I got to get done in the next 14 days. And then she said, you need to get it all done.
Yes.
And then you go to the next 2 weeks.
There's going to be some long nights.
And basically, yeah, and she did mention that as well. Actually, she asked a friend of hers, man, I can't remember exactly how she worded it, but this lady's 37. And she asked her, she said, well, why don't you just start your own business? And this 37-year-old lady tells her, well, I just don't have the time. And it's like, but you would if you started your own business.
Right. Well, yeah, you either consider that you're going to work for somebody else, or you consider that you're going to provide employment for other people, right? You can take one of those two paths. Or, I mean, there's some other ways to make money out there, absolutely, and you can do things entirely independently on your own. But the ability to own your own business, make your own decisions, take charge, just like the radio show is saying, is incredibly empowering. And then further, to be able to provide financial and employment support to other people. You know, a lot of these veteran-owned companies, for instance, are pretty selective about only hiring additional veterans into their businesses. You know, there's one company I'm recently in touch with called Bradley Morris Incorporated. They're a veterans career service placement organization.
Really?
I sent them a email. You know, I'm looking for employment, basically. I gave him my 6-page bad-looking resume, and he said, get that down to 1 page, call me back. I got it down to 1 page in 2 hours. I sent it to him. I've been getting 10, 15 text messages a day about jobs that are available and applicable to my skill set all over the country, you know, and in places like Saudi Arabia, they will pay you between $110,000 to $160,000 a year for these like 9-month, 10-month out of the year contracts, and you do that for a couple of years.
Is that tax-free since you're out of the country?
I am not interested in the Saudi Arabia job, so I'm not sure, but I think there is some tax-free ability there because you're being paid by a foreign government and you're working in a foreign land. I don't see any way that the American government can intercede there in between your employment contract, right? Like if you were working for an American company overseas, yeah, that's taxable, I believe. If you're working like on American soil but for a foreign company, that's probably taxable, right? But foreign company, foreign government, foreign land, how can they tax that?
Yeah, you didn't earn it here, so why should they tax it? You're an American citizen, so you have to pay tax no matter what part of the world you make money in. That's not a free country. I mean, they are taxing the living heck out of all of us. I know that.
You know, this year, healthcare costs have gone up almost 200% for individuals, not for families, right? So, like a family's healthcare may have gone up almost 400% depending on how many income providers they have for the family based on how many people need health care. So if you have like 6 children, you may just be like, you just got to move to somewhere where it's cheaper to live. You know, we were talking about social media. Well, I follow a lot of these web comics and they promote through social media as well. But one of these web comics, he was been writing a daily web comic for about 2 years now, maybe 3. And he put out this comic. He's like, I have to move because I can't afford to pay for healthcare for me and my girlfriend.
Yeah.
And he makes, you know, $50,000 or $60,000 a year. He's a small business owner. He built his own website. He runs his own web comic. He does all the artistry and advertising for it. He can't afford to buy healthcare. He just can't do it.
That's a realistic dilemma that in this county, Santa Cruz County, Monterey County.
Oh, yeah.
It's an expensive place to live.
Yes.
And
I told you about the mobile homes. A 60-foot by 100-foot lot selling for $989,000 in Capitola. This was not made in 2017. This was made in like 2011.
That's
it's
insane.
A mobile home.
Yeah, and once you're in the park, like typically you might own the home, but you got to pay the space rent.
Yeah.
Indefinitely.
Yeah.
So you own the trailer, but you never own the land that it's sitting on. I can't see that as a good investment.
Yeah.
I have a friend that's actually buying a trailer right now, and financially speaking, his father was well set. His dad basically said, "Look, I'll take this on as an investment. I'll buy it for you in full. You'll pay me the mortgage, and you'll pay the space rent." And so my buddy's doing it, and he's stoked because he's got his own place. But I didn't realize that after they bought it, they're still paying $600 a month for space rent. And I'm looking at my buddy, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I would rather put that $600 plus whatever you're paying on the mortgage to pay your dad back. I'd rather put all that into a mortgage on a house on its own piece of dirt.
Because then you're putting it into equity. Like the money isn't just floating into somebody else's bank account. It's actually going into like a physical thing. And, you know, the value...
It's an investment in your future.
But the value of the house may go up, may go down, but at least you will have some of that money in a recoverable state when you sell your home or whatever. Or maybe don't sell your home. You may get to the point where, like, the only thing you have to pay anymore is just your state taxes or whatever on that piece of land.
I guess
if
you're smart and you're going to invest in real estate, you need to go back in that particular property and track what was it at its highest ever.
Oh, yeah.
Because then you know that the potential to get back up to that point is there, and you need to try to buy 15 to 30% below that high point, right? That way, if you can get in 30% below the highest that this property's ever been listed at, you know that if it ever goes that high again, I can make 30%. Now, that's probably not a common number in real estate. I'm really not sure. I haven't bought my first property yet. I'm in the process of looking as we speak. And I actually just
we got to talk about that because I've been doing research prior to this web store stuff about real estate, and it's the analytics there are insane as well. Zillow, if you set up like a free user account for Zillow, you can pull up every sale of the record that house has had, like tax records. You can pull up county maps. You can pull up all sorts of information. There's even this app called Home Snap. You take your cell phone, you drive up to a house, you take a picture of it, right? And the cell phone knows what address you're in because you have your GPS enabled.
Yeah.
And then it like matches that picture to the known address, and it will pull up the Zillow account for it. Or the I think the Realtor.com also integrates with this as well. But take a picture of a house, get all the information about that house, right? You can tell who owns it, what their contact information is, how much did they pay for it, how much did the person before them pay for it, are there any liens against the house? There's,
and you need to know if there's liens against the house, because if you buy the house and it's got a lien, you're screwed.
That's your lien now.
Yeah.
Like you have to pay that off, or somebody can come take your home.
And they're not always forthcoming with that information.
Why would
you
they
would think there would be a law making them tell you, look, here's disclosure on this property.
Well, there
but
is
it's a
law,
scam.
but the law is that you have to do your own research.
Yeah.
Right. And all the information,
which is the law of the jungle,
which is publicly available information, right? And you are the one, going out and seeking to buy the house, right? Like if a person's putting it up for sale, maybe it should be a little bit more forthcoming, just on good customer service interactions, because you are representing yourself as a marketer for your own house then, right? So you want to build that good feedback, right? Like you go to an online store and they have all this 5-star ratings. That's the store you're going to buy from if they're at the right price. But
yeah.
Anyway.
No, I had no idea. I've heard about Zillow 100 times, but I had no idea what it was they actually did. I'm excited to see how the apps are starting to integrate into each other, so that it's a data sharing thing, and that just it makes the value of that app so much more valuable.
Yeah. Well, tablets are getting as powerful as laptops used to be now, and like a laptop from 2011 is powerful to do most of the things that I need to do, because I'm not a video gamer anymore. I just work on these apps and do my web store stuff, but if you have a tablet that powerful, and you have a cell phone that's almost that powerful, and a computer that's like a desktop computer that's only a little bit more powerful than that, there's so much similarity between these things that I think like a couple of years ago, Microsoft tried to make it all one platform, right? Your cell phone would be the same as your tablet, would be the same as your laptop, would be the same as your desktop. They all interact, you'd have the same windows and stuff. A lot of people really didn't like it, but honestly, I think that's the way it's going to go. Like your cell phone is going to be the same as your desktop. So anything you want to do from your desktop, you'll be able to do from your cell phone. I can run my drop shipping store from my cell phone. It's ridiculous. There is videos of 17-year-old kids in the Philippines making between $20,000 and $50,000 a month in profit from their cell phone.
Yeah. Dude, and so I looked at our analytics through, I think, the Facebook analytics of the Veterans Take Charge radio show.
Is that the Facebook Pixel?
I don't know. I don't know a lot about analytical data and stuff, or where to track it, but I found on Facebook when I was in studio on air with Dave, I was on our Facebook page conducting the online conference that was going on during the broadcast on our live Facebook feed. And what I found was Facebook's like, did you know that 65% of people who listen to your show listen through their smartphone?
And that's part of
and I was like,
your
whoa.
engagement metrics, right?
Yeah.
So if you get
engagement,
if you get this thing called a Facebook Pixel, you can track everything. Did they use an iPhone 6 or did they use an iPhone 7? What year did they get that phone? How long have they had that phone? What age range were they? Are they male? Were they female? What other demographics can you get about them? What time did they interact with you? How long did they stay on your post? Did they click it? Did they like it? Did they share it? Did they comment? All of this information comes down in like these spreadsheet formulas, and every single day, the information that you are able to pull out of these, like the Facebook Pixel or the Google Analytics, it's literally getting better before my eyes. Like there have been changes on the website in the last 2 weeks that I've used it, right? The videos that I learned to do some of this stuff are already out of date. It's moving so fast right now.
So you got to be on it to keep track of all those updates.
On a day-to-day basis, right?
Wow.
And we were talking about like engagement, right? So the audience for Veterans Take Charge radio show is going to be affirmative, action-taking veterans, right? So if you find a way to do advertisements that interact specifically with that demographic, you can spend like a pretty small amount of money to reach a lot of people, as long as you know how to carefully detail the targeting for your audience.
And that's what Heather Dobson was telling us. She's the community builder at GoDaddy Air Force Vet. Right. You Air Force guys are on it, man. You're
that's why we take care of all the records now.
Super technically proficient from what I've seen. She said she was teaching me stuff about Facebook ads, because she literally asked me, so how much, if you guys advertise through Facebook, how much have you done? And I was like,
what's your CPC? What's your ROI?
I put like $300 into it, or I said we've put about $300 into it. I think Doc Ramos put 100 or 200. I only put 100, and we got about one new follower per dollar spent. Right?
Okay.
And she said,
that's
that's
not too bad, but you can definitely do
statistically, it's not too bad, but it's also not too great either. And we need to be spending about 33 cents to get somebody.
Oh, I think you want to get that down to like 5 to 7 cents.
I'm
per click,
into
right?
that. I'm into that. We need to work together more so we can make this happen.
See, what you're doing is like there's this infinite amount of like customers and people that you're trying to interact with on one side, and then there's whatever service or product that you're trying to sell them, right? So only certain people are going to buy certain products, and you're trying to find these narrow connection points, right? But because we have data and big data and analytics available to us now, this infinite customer pool that before you used to put like a billboard on the side of a highway for your business and it would just be whoever drove by would get to see it. Now you can say, I only want to talk to the people who I know are going to buy my service and my product, and then you just start selling immediately, right? Or selling or engaging with or whatever your goal is, just drive them to your website maybe to come see the show. Whatever that goal is, you can accomplish that as long as you detail target your audience, figure out the service, connect those two things through your little funnel.
Did you know? So she was teaching me. She was teaching me about Facebook advertising, and she said, "Did you know that you can do exactly what you just said and create a perfect target audience that is perfectly targeted for one shot, one kill sales?"
Oh yeah.
Right. And then she said, and then you can go back in and buy another advertising campaign and have Facebook replicate that exact demographic.
Audience, right? Okay, so here's what I've done. I connected my Facebook pixel to my website, right? And now I have people coming into my website through Instagram shoutouts. The Instagram shoutouts are tracked by the Facebook pixel, so if anybody clicks on it, they come in, and I have it. And you can use that information once you have enough sales to build what's called a lookalike audience. So I build a lookalike audience based on only the people that buy products from my store, and then I market that to everybody on Facebook who looks like the audience of people that have already bought products from me, right? So it turns out that like I have a specific age range that when I advertise to, I get more clicks, right? I'm not going to be advertising my products to people that aren't going to click. So I know that if I advertise to people who are 17 to 25, that's my demographic. Those are the people that are going to buy. Why spend money advertising to somebody who's 65 and over if he's not interested in this product, right?
Yeah.
If I have a different product that's better for that demographic, you can tune your ad to them, right?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Wow, this is I can't believe in marketing. This is reality now. I mean, you know exactly who you're marketing to, what the statistical probability is they're going to buy what you're selling. I mean, talk about effective marketing tactics.
Oh, yeah. And it's getting to the point now where you're able to capture so much information about your customers and the people that are engaging with you that it's totally acceptable to like spend $10 on advertising in order to capture one lead that will get you $5 in profit, because then you have their email address and you know that they're engaged with you, you know that you're selling the things that they want to buy, and then you just email market to them for like the remainder of the time that they're subscribed to your email list. So you build an email list of a couple thousand people who are already, purchasers, people who are interested in your product or your service, and then you don't have to spend any more dollars anymore to advertise to them because you have their email. They just get an email from you and it says, hey, we noticed that on August you bought product A, and product B is very similar to product A and it's been selling very, very well. Would you be interested in having this product B, and we'll offer you a 10% discount code to come back to our store? People eat that up like hotcakes. It's like you're paying attention to what they want and you're trying to give it to them in the most efficient way possible. Like, we're not here to waste the customer's time, right? As a business owner, my goal is to make money. As a customer, their goal is to get like a satisfactory product or recompense for whatever they're spending.
Exactly. That's amazing, man. The business world is changing. I'm excited because I'm just discovering this technology for the first time.
It's getting so easy.
I know. They're making it too easy to use.
Oh, yeah. 17-year-olds will do it.
When Heather told me how comprehensive the data is, it actually scared me a bit.
Yeah.
Because I watched the Snowden movie, and I learned about metadata, and I learned about how many people down the road they're going to like if you get on a watch list for any reason, they're looking 4 generations deep in your contact list, and because you did something, you called the VA and you were pissed and you made a bomb threat one time, they're looking at 2.4 million other people because you did that through your contact list.
And they can do it automated, right?
It
doesn't even have to be
the algorithm does it. You don't even. There's not even a Snowden sitting there doing this data collecting. The computer is doing it.
Server sitting somewhere.
I mean, it blew my mind. I'm a little. I mean, I get it from a business standpoint. I get the sales platform that they're building here by doing it this way with this huge body of data, but it could also be spy technology.
It definitely feels like it could be used in that way because I'm just now getting started on this, and I feel like I have too much information about my customers, so I'm very sensitive about like protecting their personal privacy and their information.
Right.
Yeah, I know it's important to them, so therefore what's important to my customers is important to me.
And watch how we see how big the internet security industry has gotten. This is Veterans Take Charge. We got to take our top of the hour break. We will be back in about 5 minutes. Stand by.
KSCO.
CBS News. I'm Matt Piper. It is still an orange and smoky sky in a state that's seen a lot of fires this year. Firefighters in Southern California are making progress, but a major flare-up on the largest fire has forced new evacuations in Santa Barbara County. Correspondent Kenneth Craig is there.
Firefighters faced intense flames early this morning as the massive Thomas fire reached the city of Carpinteria in Santa Barbara County. Crews attacked the blaze from the air and the ground, but were unable to save every home. After almost a week on the lines, firefighters are tiring.
Talking to the firefighters that have been out here since day one, they've said that this has been one of the most trying and taxing fires and incidents that they've ever been on.
With the fire bearing down on Carpinteria, firefighters ordered hundreds of more residents from their homes this morning, many not knowing if their properties will still be standing when they return.
Nearly 200,000 acres have been burned in just a week. A familiar voice is on the other line for those who answer their phones over the next couple days in the all-important political state of Alabama.
His vote is our Republican Senate, and it's needed. We need Roy to help us with the Republican Senate. We will win, and we will make America great again.
President Trump hoping Roy Moore beats Democrat Doug Jones in Tuesday's special election. But even the state's senior senator, Richard Shelby, won't be voting for Moore.
The state of Alabama deserves better. I think we've got a lot of great Republicans that could have won and carried the state beautifully and served in the Senate honorably.
That's because several women have accused Moore of sexual misconduct when they were underage. On Face the Nation, Maine Republican Senator Susan Collins said she'll decide when she sees the final bill whether or not to vote for tax reform. But whatever it might contain, she is certain Medicare will not be cut.
I don't want seniors to have the anxiety of wondering whether the tax bill somehow is going to trigger a cut in Medicare. I'm absolutely confident. I have it in writing, a statement by both Mitch McConnell and Speaker Ryan.
They hope to have a vote on the president's desk by Christmas. Following a winter weekend wallop, Atlanta public schools are open tomorrow, but thousands of students throughout Georgia still won't have school due to the snow.
I'm Jim Crisula. Tens of thousands remain without power across the south and southeast after an unexpectedly harsh snow and ice storm. Parts of the North Carolina mountains got up to 1.5 feet of snow. Travel is dangerous in many places.
You just use your head. You respect the weather and respect the road.
The southern snow and ice storm is being blamed for at least 4 deaths. Jim Crisula, CBS News, Greensboro, North Carolina.
Former Detroit Tigers teammates Jack Morris and Alan Trammell have been elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. This is CBS News.
What's the perfect gift this holiday season? A great night's sleep on a set of Boll & Branch sheets. Hi, I'm Scott Tannen, founder of Boll & Branch, makers of the world's most comfortable sheets. Every set arrives beautifully packaged. Find out why 3 U.S. presidents love Boll & Branch. Try them risk-free for a month. Get $50 off your first set plus free shipping at bollandbranch.com, promo code SLEEP. That's bollandbranch.com, spelled B-O-L-L and branch.com, promo code SLEEP.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, U.S. Tax Shield can help you take back control. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Our team of tax attorneys can stop collections and get you protected. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today. U.S. Tax Shield is A+ rated with the BBB, so call 800-519-7796. U.S. Tax Shield, 800-519-7796.
Good evening, you're listening to AM 1080 KSCO, Santa Cruz AM 1340 KOMY, La Selva Beach FM 1041, KSCO.com, 504 on a Sunday. Jason Struby here, let's get a look at your King of the Hill traffic. Looks like light conditions on all your major roadways on the Central Coast right now. Highway 1 clear north to south from Santa Cruz to Carmel and back. 17, a bit of a traffic jam northbound to the Cats. You're backed up for a good mile and a half till you get into town, past the G10. 101 showing an accident at Coyote Creek, just north of the golf club there. Looks like you're just past Bailey Avenue doing 5 miles an hour till you get past the wreck. Backed up total for a good mile. Otherwise, 101 is clear to Salinas and back from San Jose. 68 with an accident westbound at Laureles Grade. Collision 101 northbound at the 85, or just before it. That's on the CHP board. We just mentioned that. Looks like a minivan shot across from fast lane to slow lane, ran up embankment and rolled. Multiple individuals over there trying to manually roll that vehicle back over onto its wheels right now. Hit and run reported at 422-68 at Laureles Grade. No injuries, thankfully. Prius on the right-hand shoulder there. Also a collision, one southbound at Soquel. Off-ramp reported at 408. No injuries. 2 vehicles were on the right-hand shoulder there. Dodge Caravan and a white Honda. It's 5:06. Still got about an hour left if you want to come pick up a last-minute tangy, etc. We're here for you. 2300 Portola Drive. It's time now for Hour 2 of the Veterans Take Charge radio show with your hosts Justin Baker and Dave Ramos.
Welcome back to Veterans Take Charge radio show. We're locked and loaded. We're going in hot. Red team go.
Red lights on.
Roop, man, welcome back.
Thank you again.
To this hour of the broadcast.
It's a lot of fun being on here.
It is, right? Yeah. Isn't it empowering doing radio?
Well, it's just, you get the opportunity to talk to somebody. We're going through interesting stuff. You get the people calling in, so like there's engagement with your audience on a real-time basis. And like you were saying, your goal is to grow this thing nationally, right? Mm-hmm. How are you going to be able to increase that engagement and, still maintain like the same quality or better in the future? Right?
Exactly. Well, we need to expand because we need this message to be reaching all of the 22 million veterans.
And all of their associated family members and people who are impacted by the military life in any way, like widows, for instance, right? They probably have some benefit that they can get out of this radio station. Gold Star families, Blue Star moms, we need them all. Yeah. We need all of you. We don't need, but we want to work with you and
if you want to help the veterans. Absolutely. This is actually, we're creating a community. I had a group of veterans, a whole small gang of veterans were waiting for me when I got here today because they had to throw some problems with the VA at me. And I'm a good soundboard for that kind of stuff. Because I can throw 100 more problems that I've had right back at them, and they're like, holy crap, I don't have it so bad.
Plus, they can learn a little bit from your process that you've gone through, and you talk about it regularly here on the show. So it's always, you're open about it, and you're transparent about what happened to you and how you fixed each of these individual issues.
Well, and I'm still working through it. Right now, I'm so close to being medically retired from the Army. It only took me 12 years of fighting the VA, but I still will.
Seems reasonable, right? About a third of your active life after the military.
Instead of 20 years in service, I will retire at 15 and a half years since going into the service by being out of the service and getting the medical retirement, and I think I'll retire with the same amount of money.
Dang.
So I did the math on that today, and over 30 years, if I survive that long after the date of the award is given, I'll make $1,044,000.
That's not so bad.
Yeah, I got my first $1 million in the bank, dude. It was a hell of a struggle. I got to be honest, though, all the struggle that the VA cost really did me the most good that anything ever could. Although I'm disgruntled and I'm angry and I want to beat the living tar out of a bunch of them, I've been able to network myself in with veterans in the struggle and hear stories that are worse than mine. And it makes me understand, like, you know, there's a need for these guys to get together, to hear these stories, and to be given the strategic advantages of, well, here's how I got around that. Here's how I got around this. I just discovered that there are lawyers all over the country who specialize in VA law, VA cases. And so I realized, well, I've been going in hot without the best weapon to go in hot with, you know, and the best weapon, you got to lawyer up, guys. You got to lawyer up. All you have to do, you go in, you file your claim. When they deny you, and in many cases they will.
You also got to get a veteran service officer because that facilitates all
that's
the
what
paperwork
That's what I did the first 5 times.
Yeah.
And guess what? Not one of them ever told me.
What's that?
Lawyer the heck up, dude. Not one of them ever told me that. Year 11 and 7 months into my case, after my 4th, I'm like on my 5th appeal right now, right? I should have been at 100% the day I left the Army, right? Because on paper right now, I'm 180% disabled with all combined disabilities. But the way the VA does the math, it equals 90%. I'm a total of 90%. Even though on paper, if you were to add it all up with the calculator, doing plus this, it equals 180.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all that's both knees, having water on the knee in the service. That's a blown out ankle. My ligaments are destroyed. That's a back injury, multiple head injuries jumping out of airplanes, a little post-traumatic stress, and the gnarliest case of diabetes ever seen by man. I happen to be the guy possessing that, and they were all service-connected. Okay, I had none of these things going in. I came out with all of these things, service-connected, which in their own language means
deserving of compensation.
Deserving of compensation for that level of disability. And what I didn't realize was how prepared we need to be getting out of the Army. So any of you out there who are in a command position, you need to tell your troops to get that full medical record. Every single time they visited the TMC for sick call, they need to have that documentation.
Yeah, you better like walk out of there with a piece of paperwork, you know, what happened, right?
Set your guys up for
Signed by
success.
somebody.
Absolutely, right? That's the paper trail. And guess what the VA is using to deny us? A lack thereof, the paper trail. No paper trail. Oh, you don't have evidence?
No evidence.
What's interesting
no
is
compensation.
the burden of proof lies on us. And the people possessing the evidence are them, the enemy in this case. Now, they're not my enemy, but I look at them as my enemy because of how much crap I've had to go through to get my case to this point, and a 12-year waiting period that my
Hurry up and wait, right? Hurry up and wait.
My Army Ranger chain of command was like, "You're set, dude. You're set. You're gonna be making enough to go to college. You're gonna make that money too for the GI Bill, and you're gonna have enough money to live while you educate yourself." And I was like, gung ho, hoorah, here we go. You know, I'm gonna go. I got the world in the palm of my hands, and instead, what happened was the money that I was told was going to be waiting with the disability I had already been diagnosed with was not there, and it took 14 months to get my first dollar. So for 14 months, I was struggling with the sickness with no compensation, and I went out and I started working because my other option was to be homeless in the street and starve.
Yeah.
So I started learning construction.
You got to make ends meet. Period. Dot.
Had to survive, and ultimately they were like, "Well, you're working, so why do you need the disability?" And I'm like, because my pancreas is dead.
Because I wasn't working.
Yeah, well, my pancreas is freaking dead, dude.
Yeah.
Something happened and my pancreas died when I was in the service.
Yeah.
And that's why I need the disability, because they haven't figured out how to turn it back on yet. And so it's in there dead. You know, my farts stink like crazy, dude. Like, imagine, dead, internal organ.
That's all that longevity stuff you've been drinking.
It might be all the nutrients.
Yeah. Given the bacteria.
No, really, my
something
farts
to
don't
grow.
smell that bad. They smell like potpourri.
Well, you don't keep them around in here, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm clenching. So
Anyway.
I asked a question in the first hour when we had a caller from PG,
Steve,
and
yeah.
I asked his opinion. How the heck does Veterans Take Charge go national, right? And the truth is, I already have a strategy and a plan on how we're going to do that. And not only do I possess those things, but I also possess the resource that already is national and has 400 radio stations. Now, that doesn't include the fact that in the past year, Michael Zwirling, the founder, owner of this station, the guy who gave us the resource needed to produce the Veterans Take Charge radio show, absolutely for free, folks. He's given us over $150,000 in free airtime over the years. $1,000 a week times 3 years times 52 weeks a year. And we're almost at the 3-year mark on January 7th will be the beginning of year 4. Okay, so he's given us about $150K of free airtime because he loves the veterans, and his mom told him he better help me.
Right? But like at some point he's going to expect return on his investment if he's putting in $150,000 a year. And yeah, it's definitely great to have a radio show that helps the veterans, but ultimately we want to sell services and stuff. Like you're always talking about longevity and the different health.
We have to integrate business.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
You have to have like a commerce platform that's associated with your audience, right?
Yeah, and I'm going to talk about that with you in just a second. Let me touch. Okay, so here's the resource.
Tell us
I
your
have.
plan. Tell us your resource.
The owner of Genesis Communications Network. He's the producer of the Alex Jones Show, which is in the top 3 or 5 radio shows in the world right now.
Is he that like really aggressive guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I might know the guy you're talking about.
He's Alex Jones.
Right.
But Ted Anderson is one of my business mentors. Okay.
And I understand that Alex Jones is just a character on the show, right? Like he's different in his business interactions.
No, he's really like that.
Great.
Here's the thing about Alex that I love, and a lot of people don't like Alex because his Hitler-esque persona on air. Oh la 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 la, right? He yells at you.
Engagement, right? People are responding.
It's impactful the way he speaks. I mean, Hitler got everybody's attention by screaming and yelling and being eloquent while he did it. Well, Alex Jones does the same thing. However, I can't deny that Alex Jones brings on some special forces operators on a regular basis.
Yeah.
He brings on CIA guys. He brings on FBI. He brings on NSA. He brings on DEA.
He has some tough questions sometimes on there, like serious things that you wouldn't expect to get any kind of thorough response from like an ex-special forces guy or CIA or something.
Well, I think he treads lightly when they're on the show with him, but the fact that they're willing to be on his show with the topics he discusses, everyone calls him a conspiracy theorist, but all these Army Rangers that I respect have gone on air with him and been proud to do so. And so, I'm kind of like MZ. When are you going to get us on, Alex Jones? Okay, 4 million people hear every word out of that man's mouth, and it would be really cool if 4 million people heard Alex Jones say, you guys need to listen to Veterans Take Charge. Whether we're conspiracy theorists or not, I am. But Dave's not. Dave's the glass is half full, guys. He's, I'm the glass is half empty, and here's the conspirators. Let's lop their heads off.
I'm the glass is twice as big as it needs to be kind of guy.
So Alex is really not the key here. Ted Anderson, the owner of Genesis Communications, who just happens to be above me in the nutrition company, right? If we can build the Veterans Take Charge health team up enough, I'm creating financial incentive already for this individual. And in exchange, what I want him to do for us is push us out through 400 stations.
Okay.
Ted Anderson, he's the key. All right, I have multiple business models that I'm trying to work him into with a very lucrative opportunity in each one of them for him. So I'm trying to grease the wheels with money.
Well, absolutely. I mean, that is your lubrication method, right? If he's not going to be making money, he won't be incentivized to help you out, except out of the goodness of his heart, which he may be willing to do for a while. But, just like we said about MZ, he's going to be looking for some kind of financial recompensation for the effort that he's put out at some point.
Yeah, if I can create enough financial incentive for these radio guys, because I'm not really a radio guy, folks. I was a radio operator in the Rangers, yes. But as far as broadcasting goes,
it's different.
This opportunity was kind of put in my lap, and I decided to Ranger up and pick the ball up and run with it. And and 3 years later, we're still doing that.
Yeah.
But money's the key because this is a business. With that being said, if you want to sponsor the Veterans Take Charge radio show with an advertising campaign, I can get you squared away. VeteransTakeCharge@KSCO.com. Email us, and we'll set you up. If not, that's fine. Just listen. Call in. Take part in the conversation. 831-479-1080 is the live call-in number. The phone lines are on right now. Me and Rupert are going to continue on with our conversation. So my plan is Genesis Communications. I want that. I want Veterans Take Charge to have a conquest over the Genesis Communications airwaves, and we could potentially be pushed through 400 stations that are both national and international. I didn't even realize he had international connections in radio as well, and I was on the phone with him the other day talking about a business model in credit card processing that you and I have been discussing for a little bit, and because he has radio reach in all 50 states, he has real potential in earning in this credit card processing business model that I'm a part of in 28 of those 50 states in the marijuana industry.
And there will be more next year and more the year after that, right?
And so what I found is a marijuana bank.
Yeah. Oh, there's definitely several standing up right now. A lot of them are kind of these high-risk investment banks, but they're like legitimate banks that have been operating for years and have standard records as the same as any other bank, and you can find out about them.
The one that I'm working with is 300 years old, but what they've created to do this processing in the marijuana industry: cash, credit, debit, check,
same as a grocery store,
and digital.
Right?
and digital, right? They can do
Oh,
all.
I love the digital. You know, in India, they have almost 80% of their consumer interactions are done with a cell phone, not with a debit card anymore, right?
So
you got to go digital.
This technology is, it's called a holdings company, and it's the same technology as Bitcoin.
Okay.
That's what I'm working with. Right, so all the transactions end up, even if you're putting cash into a kiosk in a marijuana dispensary, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I make a percentage on every dollar that gets slid into that kiosk. As soon as the dollar goes into the kiosk in the marijuana dispensary, the dispensaries got it in their bank account. Digitally in seconds, every dollar is now posted into the bank account. There's no waiting game. There's no packing up your money, risking
getting
being
an
robbed.
armored transport twice a week and taking it down to a bank and having it
There's
installed
none of
into
that.
the bank and then
it's
receiving your
literally
money 48
plugged
hours
into
later.
the kiosk in the dispensary,
That's
and
cool.
and that money is digitally 2 seconds later in your bank account. Boom. You
Mhm.
get that new 1 and that new 0 applied to your balance,
That's
right?
good, and that's what business owners need to see. They love that.
So I'm plugged in with this freaking huge thing that's coming, and I've already advertised to all my biggest contacts, because we're here in a hub of marijuana, and so I know growers, I know
January 1st
dispensary
is like
owners.
the date, right?
Yeah, and I have one player right now who's he's plugged in with a lot of the high-powered CEOs in the industry, and he literally told me the other day, "Yo, man, you need to turn this thing on right now because I could tie up 50% of the national marketplace." Now, my projections on this individual were roughly 20% of the national marketplace, and he's literally saying, "I can do 2.5 times that amount." You could own 50% of the commissions in this country. That's what this dude told me.
And
He's
if
a
you're
young.
if you're making 1% on that, you are set, and your family is set for the rest of your life.
The projections in the marijuana industry, financially speaking, by 2021 are 45 to 60 billion.
And what was it this year? I think it was like 15 to 20 billion kind of range. So it's going to double in the next.
Well, as it goes legal, more people that don't use it, even though they want to, they won't because it's against the law. More people will partake. Right? It's legal. I can do this now. So the good people who have been abiding by the laws all along will now have the freedom to choose, do I want to integrate this type of medicine into my life, or do I want to stick it out on the opium that's killing me? Right? The
and the people who've used their
Oxycontin.
entire life, they're going to continue to use anyway.
Oh man, the potheads will never stop.
It's guaranteed.
You know? So I'm looking at these kinds of numbers, and I have this one contact who's a very successful business person already. And he literally says, "Dude, you need to hurry up. We need to be first to market with this because I could bring us 50% of the national marketplace. And at the very worst, right? You just said projections for this year were at 20 billion nationally,
something like that.
So he's telling
I'm not
me
sure exactly.
he's telling me we could own 10% of that volume, 10 billion. We could have $10 billion in volume, of which I would be making a 1% commission. Do the math on that.
That's
while we're at
not
this.
bad, dude.
We're going to take a short commercial break. We'll be right back. This is Veterans Take Charge Radio Show. Stand by.
Coast Paper and Supply, a proud member of Think Local First, is positively impacting our environment. They're providing green businesses with eco-friendly cleaners, food service products, and other biodegradable items. Coast Paper and Supply is located at 151 Josephine Street in Santa Cruz and is open weekdays 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. You can give them a call at 831-423-3350. That's 831-423-3350. Or visit coastpapersupplyinc.com.
Hello, my name is Tavia Avila. We are building a new radio program at KSCO. The show is called Walk the Talk, and it's all about people's dreams and goals and what is stopping them from achieving what they want in life. During the hour live broadcast, guests will receive resources in order to make their dreams a reality. We all have a life purpose and can all benefit from resources and support in order to make those dreams a reality. If you are interested in sharing your journey with others and receiving resources or being a resource for my future guests, then please contact me at 831-475-1080 extension 310, or you can email me at tavia@ksco.com. This talk show is not only about helping my guests who come on the air, but also about inspiring others to walk their talk. For more information, contact me at 831-475-1080 extension 310, or email me at tavia@ksco.com. That is TAVIA@ksco.com.
Welcome back to Veterans Take Charge Radio. Doc Ramos, where are you? We need you back, brother.
Well, you got me, man. You'll be all right.
We're handling it pretty well, though.
Yeah, we're doing all right.
You know?
Got, another half hour to go. It's going to be fine, man.
We're killing it. Next time, dude, you're going to have to sit in my seat and run the soundboard.
I think I'll need a little bit more training on that, but yeah, I'll be willing to give it a shot.
I think it's pretty funny when you don't train people and you just throw them in the seat and see what happens.
All right, man. I'll give it a shot.
It's some good,
I mean, like,
some
how many
good
buttons
laughs.
are on there? There's only about, what, 7,500 buttons?
You
I
know,
have more buttons than that on the AC-130, man.
Struby's kept himself very necessary around here. I only know what 2 of these buttons do. So.
Well, yeah, because they're labeled on
Don't tell
and
anybody
off.
I told you that. Yeah, those are the buttons I know, the on and the off button. As far as the rest of them, I'm really clueless, to be honest. I mean, we even have a Skype feed right here. I've never used that a single time.
Oh, yeah, I'll be able to integrate that. No problem.
We should. We need to. See, we need you in here more often,
Plus,
dude.
you could have it included into your live stream. You could have a video capture of the other person on the other end of the line. So you could have, like, veterans in Australia contacting you live. Like, for instance...
You're talking about franchising. You're getting way ahead of us here. But Veterans Take
right.
Charge is going to go into Veterans Take Charge franchising at some point. We're going to go international.
Yeah, well, I mean, think about
Israeli Special Forces.
How many
Veterans Take
bases
Charge.
do we have overseas with 5,000-10,000 people on them, right? Like,
Dude.
A Kadena Air Base in Okinawa, there's 7,000 Marines on there at any given time, right?
You just gave me a brilliant idea, man. We need a podcasting Pelican case full of podcasting equipment, and we mail it out to an outpost, and we let them podcast live to us on Veterans Take Charge.
They don't need a Pelican case. They need a cell phone. They got a cell phone. We could do it from
It sounds
that.
so much cooler if I give them a Pelican case full of technology, though.
Well,
doesn't
okay,
it?
yeah, it does sound
But
cool,
then they would never mail it back,
it's
man,
a
and I'd be
business
out
model, right?
$5,000 a pop.
Yeah, exactly. It's a business
I need that
model.
technology back.
So if you were going to generate $5,000 in revenue based off of that, like if they kept that and they would make segments for your show regularly and bring them back in, then maybe it's an investment that would be worth it.
Oh,
because I mean, like,
Ramos, man, your job's on the line here, buddy. Rupert's coming up some freaking key stuff.
I mean, you're not the only veteran who has gotten involved in radio sometime because, like,
No,
people
there's
are
a bunch of
calling
radio
in,
shows,
right?
radio shows for
people
vets.
call in all the time. You got Dr. Wallach. He gets on radio show interviews all the time.
Dude, he has a 5-day-a-week nationally, 2 hours, 2 different shows,
Veteran
5 days
taking
a
charge
week,
right there.
nationally syndicated.
Veteran taking charge.
You know, what I would like to do is this, dude. So we got veteranstakecharge.com. It's got a live feed, and we could do Facebook feeds. We could do all that. We have a live feed.
No, you do want to do all of them at the same time, right? Bring them all in together.
Here's what I would like to do. I would like to do exclusive veterans broadcasting on our website, right? Take off the live feed of all the other show hosts. Like we get Flight 1080, we get all the shows here at KSCO. Whenever they go live, you can listen live at veteranstakecharge.com to whatever show it is. The only problem with that is we are all competing in a business model, which is the nutrition company, right?
Mhm.
We're all competing. And so basically what's going on is my competition in the nutrition company, who are some of my fellow broadcasters here at KSCO, their show is being aired on my website, on mine and Dave's website. And Flight 1080 is a good example because Dave Michaels is a player in the longevity business here in Santa Cruz, and he also has 15 hours a week of airtime on Flight 1080 because they're 3 hours a day, Monday through Friday, during prime time. So not only does he have 15 hours a week, whereas we only have 2 hours a week, he has prime time hours during drive time when people are driving home from work commuting.
And that's when people tune into these long
That's the
extended
biggest
format
radio
AM.
audience of the day is driving home from work.
I hear about truckers talking about AM radio shows all the time, you know? They spend 12 hours a day in a truck. What else are you going to do? You got to listen to something.
So I'm not opposed to competition, but I am opposed to that competition having 7 times the airtime on my website. I'm opposed to that.
Yeah, I could see that. It does feel like a little bit. There's conflict there for you, at least.
Yeah.
Especially as you were saying, you're a business owner, right?
Yeah.
You have to have the channels that you need to advertise.
And then his team is over 350 people. My team is 153 people.
Yeah.
So he doesn't need my help. He doesn't need 13 more hours of airtime on my website than I get every week. So what I would like to do is this, all right? Our show, maybe what we do is we have all of our broadcasts running in a loop, right?
Okay.
With Pharmacist Ben, Doc Wallach, and maybe a couple other key veterans who we like their podcasts or their broadcasts, right? And I would like to plug them in on our feed.
Okay.
And so when our show ends, an hour of Doc Wallach comes on in his show. He's a veteran taking charge. Pharmacist Ben is not a veteran, but he's one of my mentors in the nutrition company. He is a pharmacist who no longer prescribes drugs. Instead, he prescribes nutrition, and he actually heals people.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a damn good broadcaster who talks all about cellular health, any type of human body issue you could imagine. I mean, he is a knowledge-based platform. That's what he's just exponentially pushing knowledge nonstop. It's almost overwhelming at times.
So basically what you're talking about there is a concept called cross-selling. So
yes.
You are going to be...
Cross-marketing.
Yeah, cross-marketing,
yep.
Right? So you have this product that you already know that people like, which is the Veterans Take Charge radio show, and then you think that the audience will also like these other shows based on what you were saying. And if you've done 153 episodes, as you were saying, at 2 hours a piece, that's 10 days of content that would be on a loop, right? So it would only repeat 3 times a month, and if you get one additional show that would help you do that, then it would only repeat once every 2 months or something like that, or once every month and a half.
And what's brilliant about if I use Doc Wallach's shows and I use Pharmacist Ben shows, okay?
Right.
So I'm under Pharmacist Ben in the network, in the nutrition company, right?
So you make money, he makes money.
I could tell him, hey, he already records the most amazing commercials ever because it's a minute of solid knowledge about your health.
Mm-hmm.
And then the solution. Here's why you have this health problem. Here's what your body has done to create it. Here's how you reverse it, right? This is Pharmacist Ben at KSCO Health. Well,
So, yeah, he's fixing a pain
KSCO
point.
Health is MZ's nutrition account.
Okay.
Now, I'm under MZ. So by building me, MZ is building himself, right?
Right.
The problem is when someone hears a Pharmacist Ben commercial on our show during our airtime, right? And then he says, email the KSCO health team at ksco.com, right?
Right.
We've effectively lost that sale.
So
Even
they're
though
not
it was
going
during
through
our
your funnel,
airtime.
right? There's 2 funnels here that get to the same point. As far as
MZ's
the
above
customer
me,
is
so
concerned.
they go above me into his chain.
Okay.
And so we lose the sale, and we need that sale to fund the broadcast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
MZ's making a smaller percentage on us because of how far down we are in the structure of the business model.
Still a percentage, though,
But
right?
but he's getting 2% to infinity on us. You know what I mean? So if we, my goal is $10 million a year in sales, and he would be making $200,000 a year on that. Now he's giving us $52,000 a year in free airtime, but he'd still be pocketing $148,000 a year if I could make that happen.
Right.
And so, like I said, grease the wheels for the mentorship. They get paid on me, and they'll keep teaching me and keep guiding me towards the promised land.
And you have to scale nationally to get to that $10 million of sale, because obviously
Absolutely.
The community that you have here, as wonderful as it is not broad enough to reach your dreams and goals of this.
We have to scale up.
Yep,
We have to.
have
And the veteran community needs us to be as scaled up as we can nationwide, because so many ears will hear what we're saying.
Yeah, what
we're
you're doing
constantly,
on the show is relieving pain points.
Exactly,
right?
exactly. And we're providing all these different resources that are all over the country. We've probably interviewed nonprofits in 20 states over the 3 years, and we would like to get to all 50 states, right?
Yeah.
But we don't have the reach to those states. They don't even know we're in existence. And so social media, I guess, is how we get out there and really tap into the biggest listener base. But we need radio stations. That's what we really need.
I think you need podcasts. Radio
Well,
stations
we're doing
are
that
great,
too.
But podcasts are where it's at because it's on demand, right? People have gotten so insistent being able to be connected to the internet on your phone on 24 hours a day. Like if I have a question, I Google it and I know the answer in 10 or 15 seconds.
I love that.
Right? I love it too. But
it's not always accurate, but
it's decent.
It'll
right?
give you a rough ballpark of where to look further if you need to.
Yeah, and it's the same way with like podcasts. If I'm in the mood to hear what the Veterans Take Charge radio show has to say, I want to hear it right now. I don't want to hear it Sunday at 4 p.m. on a 10 a.m. radio station. I mean, that's good.
We're not on demand. You're right.
Yeah, but it's good to be on demand as well. I mean, especially now that it's so easy to do. Like we could set up a podcast after the end of this show in an hour.
So we have 156 hours of broadcast recorded that we can run a loop on. Like you said, 10 days it would take to go through all that, right?
Yeah, I think so, based on the numbers that I understand for the show. And 10 days on a loop.
It's like 8 days or something.
But, consider that from the perspective of a person who shows up to the website, they wouldn't be hearing repeating content very often unless they were spending a lot of time on your website, which is maybe what you want. Maybe it is.
It is.
Right? But
speaking on that, so we went into our Google Analytics. This was like at least a year back. Now, we don't even really mess with the analytics because we're
going to get you into those analytics.
Well, we need to rebuild the website. VeteransTakeCharge.com is outdated, and it's not anywhere near as interactive as we want it to be.
Yeah.
Like, we need a really high-tech, cool-looking, sleek website.
Yeah.
And
well, it's just like we were
MZ
saying before,
paid.
like the integration between your cell phone, tablet, computer, you want it to be slick and smooth all the way between all of those. Like, how do you get the information to your customer as fast as possible based on their chosen platform?
I would like to build an app.
Yeah, you could get an app built.
I was actually talking to Dean Kaufman downtown about that. He's one of the biggest veteran advocates here in the Santa Cruz County. And he was telling me the same thing. He's like, we need a way to be more available online, and the veteran can literally just click on our link, and all the other resources at all the nonprofits in the county pop up on his screen. Oh, you need your car fixed? Go to the VRC. Oh, you need your rent paid? Go to the VRC. Oh, you need a home? Go to SSVF or the housing department for veterans. Go to those things. If you're homeless in Monterey County, go to the Veteran Transition Center of Fort Ord. I mean, we literally have this massive network building right here in our area, and nobody knows about it. Unless you listen to Veterans Take Charge on a regular basis, because we're interviewing all of them.
Well,
but we need that nationally.
Yeah. And you have to have that app, like you were saying, to get that on-demand information to your customers as they're looking for it. So getting an app, not that hard to get made done if you know what you want the app to do. It's, it'll cost you a little bit of money, but I guarantee you there are students out here that are like veterans and now computer science students using their post 9/11 bill. They would just love an opportunity to do a project like this as part of their education, right? So, I mean, that would get you into the space where you feel like you understand what's happening with your app. Then you go to like a professional organization, pay $4,000, have a real app made, and it's just going to be slick and smooth. It's going to be on a Google store. Is that what it costs?
4 or 5 G's?
You can get like a functional app built for between $250 and $500. But if you want something that like looks real good and has smooth transition screens and good graphics and things like that, yeah, you're going to pay a little bit more money.
Well, we need quality, man. We definitely need quality. And I'm seeing the nonprofits that are really having a good impact on the community. They didn't spare any expense on the website, because that's really your biggest
portal,
presence.
Right?
I mean, that you're getting more views there than people driving by your building looking at, that building's kind of shabby. You can have a shabby building as long as your website is awesome.
Because the website is the portal.
Absolutely. It's your biggest, it's where most of the views are going to come in at. We have a plan.
Yes.
2018 is going to be an eventful year for us. So
Michael
Zwirling, last week, like I said, I sat in his office, and I don't know if I excited him based on what we were talking about or what the deal was. I know for a fact, like I said, I'm kind of an idea man, and one of the ideas I threw at him, he was just like, "That's it! You got it!" And it's a $1 million problem that he was describing to me, right? And I just was just like, blah, blah. It just kind of came, it spilled forth, and he was like, "You might have it.
Yeah.
That might be the answer."
Okay. Okay.
And I've done this with him several times in several different issues that he was having financially speaking with different business constraints, whatever, problems in a business structure that's been built. Why is it not working right? He identified another example. He identified a $20,000 commission loss in the nutrition company because he was missing a few key people in the pyramid that we're building.
Okay.
We're building a pyramid, right? Well, you qualify in that pyramid by placing the right people in the right place.
Okay.
And you can manipulate the pyramid to increase your revenue.
Okay.
Which is what I love about longevity. Dr. Wallach set it up in a way where if you know how to play the game, you can maximize your profit potential. But if you don't know how to play the game, you can still get paid. But you need to learn how to play the game.
Well, it's like about scaling, right? There's the infinite number of customers and the infinite number of products, and if you put the right people on the right connection points between those two spaces, you're going to generate sales, right?
The network below those, you plug them in where they're supposed to be, and all of a sudden you have another 1,000 people in that network the following week because you put that guy in the right spot where he could get paid more.
Yeah.
And then you get paid more for doing that.
He's incentivized, right?
Yeah. And I see my leadership. I'm so blessed, dude, to be in the line I'm in the company because I've got these players that know how to build it. They, like, one example is Brandy Brogdon, Dr. Wallach's personal assistant, my mentor. She put all of her 3 kids under her in the business and built networks in the thousands of people under each of her 3 children. One of them was 10. The youngest one was 10. The oldest one was 18. When the 18-year-old went off to college, she had a $2,000 a month residual income coming in to go live on.
And that's good enough to go to college on, guaranteed.
And she didn't start building that for the daughter until the daughter was like 15, 16. So in 2 years, she was able to generate an extra $2,000 a month income for the daughter that was guaranteed. And residual. So it's going to keep coming month after month after month.
That's nice.
It's all in how you build it, right? And so I've got an 8-month-old. And I'm going to sign her up at the highest level in the company. And I'm going to start plugging the pieces in under her before she's even 2. I'm going to start building up her network.
This is so funny to me.
Yeah, I'm going to do it, man.
Yeah.
And then, dude, she's hella cute. I'm going to take her to the conference. I'm going to dress her in some, like, it's going to say
This
baby
is my
CEO.
affiliate marketer.
And people are going to be like, oh, my God. It's going to be the talk of the company.
That is going to blow up on Facebook and Instagram and stuff. People love that kind of thing.
I'm going to do it, dude. I'm doing it. And Brandy's the one that figured out how to build under your kids. And your kid may not ever have to work, which, you know, I want my kids to work. But hopefully they'll work in a smart business model.
And something that they're passionate about, right?
Yeah,
something that they,
and something
that's
that makes
a
them
lot
happy.
easier to do if you have like the resources to pursue education early on and go to college and stuff. Like you and I, we have the post 9/11 bill. She may or may not have that at her chosen time to go to college.
I don't know if you knew this or not, but from what I was told by a VSO here in our area, disabled combat veterans in California, their children have a full ride to Cal State schools.
Is that 100% disabled veterans? I'm betting it's got to be like that, right?
I think I think so.
There'd
Yeah.
be too many children to send to school.
But they
yeah,
never.
That's still a pretty good deal.
The VA never told me this. I had to find it out for myself.
And I think I've heard something similar. So this sounds somewhat reasonable to me.
So I asked him. I was like, he didn't say Cal State schools right off the bat. So I was like, all right, so I can send my daughter to Yale, and they're going to pay for all of it. And he's like, no. Cal State.
Right.
It's a California veteran program.
Okay, so your selection of schools went down to like 50 or something.
Yeah.
Whatever. That's still a pretty good list.
Yeah, man. She better not complain because no one paid for my college. I had to pay for the GI Bill myself, you know?
Yeah, did you do the kicker? $600 kicker? I remember that.
You know what? I didn't, dude.
Oh,
I
dude.
blew it.
There's a checkbox now when you apply for benefits now. Did you do the kicker? Did you do the kicker? They ask. They want to know.
I should have just said I did. No, I didn't. They
That's
did give me the
dishonest.
opportunity, but
Okay.
I totally let it slide. Hey, this is Veterans Take Charge Radio Show. We're going to take a short commercial break. It's the last one of the day, so stick around.
Hi, registered pharmacist Ben Fuchs here. I've been studying healthy bodies for 35 years, and what I've got to tell you may shock and surprise you, but if you listen up, it may change your life. There's no element in the body that's more important than iodine, and not just for the thyroid either. As it turns out, all of the glands of the body depend on iodine. The adrenal glands are especially dependent on iodine, and making sure you're getting enough via diet and supplementation can reduce fibrocystic breasts and lower the risk of heart disease too. Iodine is also important for your brain. According to researchers writing in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, iodine deficiency can prevent children from attaining, quote, their full intellectual potential, unquote. Deficiencies in iodine are considered to be the most preventable cause of brain damage in infants and children, and according to the World Health Organization, over 1/3 of kids are iodine deficient. According to the World Health Organization, iodine deficiency in adults can lower IQs by up to 15 points. And considering the average adult IQ is around 90 to 100, and 80 is considered dull, losing 15 IQ points can be pretty significant. Although iodine is one of the most feared and misunderstood of all the nutritional minerals, the fact is iodine is perhaps the safest of all the essential trace elements. Organic nutritional iodine is the only essential trace element that can be used safely for long durations in doses many times higher than the RDA. Iodine is found abundantly in the ocean, and regular consumption of seafood and sea vegetables are a great way to make sure you're getting enough. You can also supplement with Lugol solution, a product called iodoral or its equivalent. You can also use drops of something called nascent iodine, which may be especially effective as a supplemental source. Pharmacist Ben here, urging you to go to KSCOhealth.com to order Beyond Tangy Tangerine, the Healthy Start Pack, and other nutritional supplements that I personally use and recommend. You can purchase these premium quality products at wholesale prices online at KSCOhealth.com. That's KSCOhealth.com. I'm the pharmacist that believes that staying healthy and strong is not only about medicine, it's about giving your body the raw materials it needs to do its work. Go to KSCOhealth.com. Make sure you check out the cool videos too at KSCOhealth.com. That's KSCOhealth.com.
Welcome back to Veterans Take Charge Radio. We are in the final stretch of the day here, the home stretch, if you will. And I'm going to go ahead and let Roop pick a topic real quick because he threw an idea at me for a discussion. The phone number is 831-479-1080. And I'm going to go ahead and let Roop
All right, so
bring it up.
I was just doing some kind of general research about some news stories coming up for the veterans in the, recent past here, and I wanted to have content available for this show because, I'm not a radio host myself, so I was doing some preparation as I could. This story just was so astounding to me. Have you ever seen the movie Starship Troopers? Right? In Starship Troopers, they say if you serve in the military, then if you have federal service, then you become a citizen of the country and you can vote, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have that system here in America. So a person who is not an American citizen, a citizen of a different country, under certain circumstances can enlist in the military. Now, they can't become an officer, but it turns out that in 2016, according to the source of America One, about 8,000 non-citizens enlist in the military every single year. And I think I may have met one of these non-citizens while I was in the military, and I didn't even know. He was just an American, right? He was an American. He was wearing the uniform, doing the same job as anybody else. And it was so interesting to me, what is the motivation for these people to enlist in the military? Because they do not automatically receive citizenship. I think that they should if they're volunteering to defend our country. You're volunteering to take a bullet, then you can get citizenship, right? Well, and also, like I said, they can't be commissioned, so they're only performing enlisted duties. They're not in leadership roles other than supervisory leadership roles, not management leadership roles. In order for immigrants to join the military, they have to have certain documentation that allows them to prove that they're not a threat to the United States in some capacity. I know that was something that you brought up before the show. Maybe there's some conspiracy theories here. Does a guy from Iran want to come join and get some intelligence about our military based through his service and his job?
Mm-hmm.
And there's definitely a real threat there. Our military is, in part, a secret organization that has certain knowledges and intelligences that must be, maintained. So there are countries that are on this list of countries. I think they're called threat countries or something, but they have to go through additional background screening before a person from one of these countries be allowed into the military. In 2002, President Obama was trying to pass legislation so that a lot of these non-citizens that enlisted in the military and served their time would have a path to citizenship that was lubricated basically through this USCIS, which I'm not sure what it stands for, but I think it's the United States Citizen Information System. It's basically the people who track all of the immigrant status for different non-Americans. It says since September 2001, USCIS has naturalized more than 37,250 foreign-born members of the armed forces and granted posthumous citizenship to 111 service members.
That's very generous.
It is generous, but it's also kind of interesting. So this is a person
I was being sarcastic.
Well,
they did die for us, so.
They ought to get citizenship,
yeah, they
right?
should.
But it's strange to me that it's posthumous, right? They volunteered to take a bullet before they became a citizen of the country that they were volunteering to defend. And if there are any non-American citizen enlisted members or former non-American citizen enlisted members or members that have gone through the naturalization process after your time in the military, please call us in. I've just been learning about this today, so I don't have all the information, and I would love to hear some of your personal representation. But almost 5% of all active duty personnel are non-citizens, and that's just astounding to me. That's 1 in 20, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't even notice while I was serving my
Okay, so the live call-in number is 831-479-1080 if anybody would like to call in and participate in this conversation. We actually discussed this exact issue maybe 3 or 4 weeks back, and I believe Doc Ramos brought it up because President Trump is trying to kind of put the skids on this program. Mm-hmm. Now, I look at it from an espionage standpoint. How do we know?
Conspiracy theory, right?
How do we know we're not letting spies in? I've got to be honest.
That's a real threat.
If I was an enemy force looking to get into the military, I would go in through the front door if I could. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go ahead and send my son in there to
bonus,
infiltrate.
Right?
Yeah, infiltration is key if you're going to win a war. And I guarantee you, Russia, China, I really don't know how much they hate us, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're not at least attempting infiltration at some point, at some level, right?
And maybe not even government sanctioned, but just an individual who specifically hates our country and then would use this path to do some kind of damage to the military just on their own.
Well, look
right?
at the Fort Hood shooter. I mean, he was like a captain or a major. He
Okay.
had done years
Right.
as an officer. He was an American citizen, so he was allowed to be an officer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he went on a shooting spree on Fort Hood, and he just happened to be a Muslim, and he was really pissed off,
Right.
probably about the fact that we're in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Mhm.
You know, and that, you know, do you guys feel we should be there?
Well, I mean, speaking specifically about what you just said, pissed off. The Muslim community just recently, I think on December 9th or something, had a day of rage over, like, this is a religiously sanctioned, government sanctioned day of rage. And they would have people out in the streets just saying how angry they were that President Trump decided to advocate for Israel using Jerusalem as its capital. So Israel's moving their capital from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. And there are like 2 or 3 major religious communities in Jerusalem, obviously. The Jews, the Christians, and the Muslims, and they all have respect for this specific piece of land. But now one of those groups is declaring it to be the capital of their country.
And that would be the Jews, right?
That would be the Jews, and that.
So he's pushing that agenda
much
forward.
hate. That made so much hate out of the Muslim community. They responded immediately. Like within 24 hours, there were tens of thousands of people in the streets waving flags and talking about how angry this made them.
Yeah.
Jerusalem is an incredibly important piece of history to all 3 of these religions, and
Yeah.
like they should all have some ability to interact with something that's so important to them. But when Israel, which has a pretty strong kind of like immigration and integration between foreign powers, especially their neighbors, their close physical neighbors. So it's kind of hard for them to facilitate the ability of other groups to use Jerusalem in the way that they, would feel entitled to. Well, looks like we might even have something going on.
Yeah.
All right. So, also what was interesting was the selective service. If you are between 18 and 25 and you're male, you have to sign up for selective service. And was particularly interesting to me is that undocumented immigrants are required to sign up for selective service. I understand the motivation because there are people who are living here in our country and they benefit from the protection of our military, but at the same time, an undocumented immigrant is probably not motivated to sign up for selective service and therefore the draft, right? If they're already undocumented, why would they go into like a government system?
I mean, I got to be honest, if I wanted to become a citizen and they were like, "We'll let you," I would join. I mean, I joined. And, I mean, I already had my citizenship, so I wasn't offered any citizenship to join. I just did what I felt was right.
Mm-hmm.
But if I wanted to solidify myself as an American citizen and I was an undocumented immigrant or any type of an immigrant, I would not hesitate to serve.
I think that it should be...
It proves your worth, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's a legitimate path to citizenship, right? You're volunteering to defend this place, and you're going to call it your home for the rest of your life. Okay, yeah, that sounds like a person who should be allowed to be a citizen in my country.
Yeah.
And I don't
Oh,
really-
man, I fight for them, dude. I advocate for those who served to become citizens.
Yeah.
I got their back.
And I don't care where they came from, as long as, our ideas and our minds are allied in like what we are searching for the greater goals of the community of our country. As long as my goals and their goals and our country's goals are all aligned, let them be citizens.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If they're willing to risk their life to fight for us,
Mhm.
how can we deny them citizenship?
Mhm.
I mean, we've got 1 million people a year coming across the southern border, not trying to assimilate.
Mhm.
Okay, somebody who says, "Hey, let me serve and I'll become a citizen," they are trying to assimilate. So let's go ahead and give it to them.
Naturalize, right? They're trying to integrate into the culture of this place that they want to call home.
And that, I mean, to me, that is like the definition of assimilation.
Mhm.
Is I don't think it's necessary for everyone to do it, and I'm not saying that. I'm not saying everyone should serve, but I have a lot of respect for foreign people who come here and say, "Let me join your service, I'll serve, and I'll be a citizen after." I actually went to basic training with a kid from the Philippines
Mhm.
who barely spoke English, and he apparently played an instrument really well, and so he joined to be in the Army band.
And do you know if he made it or if he maintained?
He graduated from
citizenship
basic.
afterward?
I'm sure after he got through basic, his training was less rigorous and he spent more time playing music.
But I mean, even so, the Army's got to have a band, right? And if he can play an instrument, he wants to take that position. Whatever, let him.
He
have
would
it.
not have made the best soldier. I can tell you that right now. Like, this kid was not made for war, dude.
Yeah.
But he, I guess, was an expert at some instrument, and we had 2 guys actually, him and one other who was a citizen, who were going to go into the Army band after they graduated from basic.
Yeah.
And so I worked with that kid just like he was one of us.
Yeah, exactly. Because
and he
your
graduated.
minds were allied, right? The goals that you were working for were the same. He wanted to be an American citizen, or he wanted to serve his country. You wanted to serve your country, and you guys were going through the same training and required to maintain the same standards.
It was funny though. He had a prior service Air Force guy who actually was on funeral detail in the Air Force. Bain. His last name was Bain, and Bain had served 4 years in the Air Force, and so when he went into Army basic training, he knew exactly what to do.
Yeah.
So he ended up being a squad leader throughout.
I've even thought about taking that blue to green program a couple times.
What do they do to this squared away Air Force veteran who's in Army basic training? They stick him with a foreign exchange student who can't speak a lick of English, and basically they tell him, anytime that this guy needs to go take a dump, dude, you got to go to the bathroom with him.
Yeah.
Because you have to do the buddy team thing, right? So this poor Filipino kid runs around in basic training for 9 weeks like, Bane, I got to poop, Bane, I got to poop. And
Poor
Bane just
guy.
looking at me like, dude, this guy never stops pooping, and I always got to be there holding his hand while he does it because that's the rules of basic training.
Yeah, buddy
So
system,
Bane
buddy
was
system,
pretty
buddy
miserable, but Bane went on to do bigger and better things, and the Filipino kid, I can't remember his name, but he went into the Army band and he did his thing,
Yeah.
And now he's a U.S. citizen, so
good for him.
Got to give it to him, man.
Yeah, he did what he had to do, and now he's getting rewarded in a very appropriate way, I think.
Yeah. Hopefully he didn't get sent to Iraq, and hopefully he's still in one piece.
But I mean, that is what we volunteer for when we sign that contract, Going to war, maybe.
He was the most unsquared away dude ever, man. I can't imagine him in combat, dude. It would be terrible.
But, it is kind of a strange thing when you're getting to that first interaction in war. Like, you never know if you're going to be able to pull that trigger or, accomplish the mission until it's moment one on the mission. Like D-Day, H hour, right?
Everyone wants to be all gung-ho and like, I got this.
But you just don't know till you're
I'll
there.
tell you what, man. Have you ever seen the scene in Saving Private Ryan? I think it might be the very first scene of the movie. And all you see is this hand quivering uncontrollably, right? Turns out to be Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
And what you realize, you're like, man, this guy's shell-shocked. What's up with him?
Yeah.
And then you realize he is a badass in the movie. The guy's exempt. He's an Army Ranger, as a matter of fact. That was the 2nd Rangers. And Tom Hanks ends up being a badass soldier who ends up giving his life for Private Ryan, right? But he's quivering uncontrollably, storming Normandy Beach. Yet he did the job, and he made it up Normandy Beach, and he overthrew machine gun nests and all kinds of stuff. You never know how you're going to react, no matter how tough you think you are. The first time bullets start whizzing by your head and someone tries to blow you up with an IED or an RPG, that's when you really know.
And there are some people that, like they may look small physically or they may, seem a little soft, but they just got a core of iron in them, right? Like there are so many stories from World War II that we've made movies about over the last 50 years of just people of having incredible bravery, like 10 guys running towards a German tank made of 15 tons of steel that's shooting shrapnel and bullets at them at 1,000 rounds a minute, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes when you got to do what you got to do, something wells up inside you and you can accomplish anything, right?
You know what's amazing that I personally experienced in my first firefight was time stopped.
Yeah.
It literally, the human brain has a mechanism built into it where when you're in a life or death situation, it's almost like your brain stops everything that's unnecessary so that you can focus on what's necessary for survival. I literally experienced that. In that movie, Saving Private Ryan, that happens to multiple characters in the movie, and they go through a scenario just like that. And you can hear the bullets whizzing by and all that, but it's not traumatic when the brain slows it down. And you're thinking at full speed, I think. I don't know, because your brain slowed everything down. It seems like you're thinking at full speed, right? I know that in the situation that I'm speaking of right now, which we were ambushed by enemy forces in Afghanistan, and it was a perfectly conducted ambush. I haven't been ambushed many times, but I think that one was done the right way. And one of our guys ended up dying.
But you made it out, though. At least
I made it out only because they missed. I mean, I was the only one. I was the only Ranger. I was with 25th Light Infantry, and they were all wearing green camo, and I was wearing brown. And so I feel like my lack of experience led me to dress like the Rangers when I should have been dressed like the guys I was with, and so I became the target. Well, luckily, its rocket-propelled grenade flew about a foot in front of the ground mobility vehicle that I was in, and only missed my Humvee by about a foot. Out of my peripheral, I just see this cloud of...
That's a little close to me.
I know. Dude, but I'll tell you what, man, it was the most exhilarating thing of my life.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about an adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
I couldn't stop shaking for 3 days after that. It wasn't until I hit the ground when I jumped out of the truck thinking the rocket had hit it that I realized, oh, crap, I left my body armor 10 feet over there in the truck. I don't even have my helmet on, and gunfire's going off. And it was
It was a little bit different for me during my first experience where I kind of got that adrenaline rush you were talking about. Like, I got the time slowing down thing, but I just took some deep breath. And I was working on an aircraft where everything's a little bit slower, right? The bullets aren't whizzing by on a second-to-second basis, but you still got to move very fast. I just started working through my procedures, listening to my commander. Accomplish mission.
Nice. Survive. This is Veterans Take Charge Radio Show. We'll be back next week at 4 p.m. right here on 1080 AM KSCO Santa Cruz.
Hey, it's been really great to be on, man. Thank you for having me again.
Keenan Roop, U.S. Air Force veteran. Thank you for telling some more stories with us.
Heck yeah, man.
We'll have you back soon.
Absolutely.
This is Veterans Take Charge. We'll be back next week.
KSCO, Santa Cruz.
CBS News. I'm Matt Piper. There are still 6 major fires burning in Southern California, and we are 1 week in. Thousands of acres have burned. Nearly 1,000 homes and businesses destroyed. Brendan Ripley is a fire behavior analyst in the state.
Today is day 7 of red flag critical fire weather conditions, and they extended it again to tomorrow. So those current weather patterns that are moving this fire in this direction are still staying in place.
Debbie Stevens had to evacuate her home in Santa Barbara County.
My neighbor pounded on my door. Debbie, get out. Debbie, pack your stuff, get out. I packed everything in my car, all my pictures and clothes, and just unimaginable. I don't even know what to think.
About 9,000 firefighters are working those fires. Despite allegations of sexual misconduct involving teen girls decades ago, Roy Moore is still in it to win it. The Alabama Senate race goes down on Tuesday, and polls still have him ahead of Democrat Doug Jones, but not by much. CBS News Chief Washington correspondent John Dickerson.
Clearly, if Roy Moore wins, there are going to be a lot of senators who, even Susan Collins, who didn't like Roy Moore before these accusations came out, believes the accusers now that the accusations have come out. Even she today said it's a very difficult thing overturning the will of the voters of a state.
Dean Young works for the Moore campaign.
Judge Moore's going to go to Washington. Judge Moore's going to win, and I highly doubt there's going to be a Senate investigation.
He was on ABC. A robocall from Donald Trump went out to Alabama voters today. The first ever futures contracts for the virtual currency Bitcoin rose in early trading in Chicago tonight. The futures were priced at $16,000. Some Wall Streeters are cautious, though. Jason Weisberg with Seaport Securities.
When you're getting stock tips from people that have no experience in Wall Street, that's usually and historically a pause for concern.
President Trump's decision to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital has led to protests and violence in that region, where Palestinians had hoped to have the city for their own capital. Correspondent Seth Doan is there.
French President Emmanuel Macron pushed for peace in a meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who said Palestinians need to come to grips with reality.
It's been the capital of Israel for 3,000 years. It's been the capital of the Jewish state for 70 years.
But not all Israelis are as pleased with President Trump's policy.
It's a stupid thing to do.
Ruthie Raphael sees Jerusalem as Israel's capital, but said now wasn't the time to declare it.
I don't want our soldier to be killed because of a stupid announcement.
CBS Evening News anchor Jeff Glor will interview President Macron tomorrow. And thousands of customers remain without power in the Deep South after a weekend of snow. This is CBS News.
What's the perfect gift this holiday season? A great night's sleep on a set of Boll & Branch sheets. Hi, I'm Scott Tannen, founder of Boll & Branch, makers of the world's most comfortable sheets. Every set arrives beautifully packaged. Find out why